What's up, guys? It's your boy Omnisensei back with part 5 of Reborn in Naruto OC broadcasts the future to the Shinobi world. If you enjoy my content, consider buying me a coffee, link in the description. Like the video, share, and subscribe. Remember to check out the author of this fantastic fanfic. Link in the description. With all that out of the way, let's get into it. When the younger Itachi's complete Susanoo came out, the two Susanoo's terrifying chakra instantly swept in all directions. The distance between them wasn't too far apart, and now there were two complete Susanoos. From a distance, two red giants were facing each other. The tips of their wings at the backs would spark with chakra every time they touched. The momentum bloomed, and behind the two of them, the buildings of the Uchiha clan were overturned one after another. What's even more frightening was that the space between the two Susanoos was vaguely distorted with the strong collision of these two chakras. Susanoo with wings. Totsuka blade. Yata mirror. Uchiha Fugaku, who was hiding aside, was shocked. He didn't expect Itachi's complete Susanoo form would have wings. Even more unexpectedly, his Susanoo configuration turned out to have both Totsuka blade and Yata mirror. This. Uchiha Fugaku didn't know what to say anymore. According to genealogical records, it was extremely rare for a Susanoo to have wings. Not to mention a Susanoo that had an attack and defense artifact, two at once. The first one ever in my lifetime. Uchiha Fugaku felt the pressure of the two Susanoo's head-ons, and experienced the most direct impression of Susanoo's power. He vaguely felt pain as the chakra blew over his skin, almost as if the chakra was cutting his skin. He even felt that Itachi's Susanoo might be more powerful than that legendary person from Uchiha. It was said that the Totsuka blade, although it was only a spirit sword without a physical body, could permanently seal everything that it stabbed. And Yata mirror was at the same level of existence as the Totsuka blade. Although there was no physical shield, it could rebound any kind of attack. It had all the nature transformations and would automatically change its own properties, according to the properties of the attack to nullify the attack. Between this attack and defense, it's simply invincible. Even if Uchiha Madara were here, he would have a hard time. Uchiha Fugaku took a deep look at his sons and retreated towards the rear. He knew that in this battle, everything would be obliterated. What is that? Outside the Uchiha clan, the Anbu and Root members, who had been crouching or standing in close proximity, all stood up in horror, staring at the two crimson giants with bewildered eyes. Feeling the chakra that seemed to tear the sky apart, everyone felt their throats were a little dry. They didn't expect that the Uchiha clan would have such powerful techniques. And there were two of them. That's Susanoo. So, there's really someone in the Uchiha clan who had awakened Mangekyou Sharingan besides Itachi. Surrounded by a group of Konoha Root members, Shimura Danzo coldly looked at the opposing sides. Itachi, don't let me down. The corners of Shimura Danzo's mouth lifted slightly as he suppressed the fire in his eyes. He, too, was about to have such a powerful ability. Danzo-sama, the barrier can't withstand the impact of the chakra inside. It's about to shatter. Send more men, continue to fortify. Don't let a single Uchiha get out. This. In the Hyuga clan, a large number of Hyuga shinobi were spread all over the Hyuga clan's territory. They were on guard, guarding against anything that might change tonight. Not only were the Hyugas, but other clans did the same, watching the downfall of the Uchiha clan with cold eyes while armed to the teeth. Patriarch, this. The Byakugan had the ability to see through layers of obstruction, and they could see what was happening to the Uchiha clan right now. Because of this, all the elders of the Hyuga clan were shocked. Originally, the Hyuga, who was one of the major pupil clans along with the Uchiha clan, still felt some sorrow for the imminent demise of the Uchiha. Like the rabbit mourning over the death of the fox under the hands of the hunter. But now, they were extremely glad. Some of them even wanted to do it personally to make sure that all the Uchiha clan members died. It was frightening. Those Uchiha eyes too frightening. Tell everyone in the clan. They aren't allowed to open their Byakugan until they meet an enemy. Also, forget about everything that happened tonight. Such things were happening not only in the Hyuga clan, but also in other clans of Konoha. Uchiha Itachi understood his own condition, and knew that his body couldn't carry out a long confrontation, so he had to be quick. The Yata mirror turned defense into attack and slammed directly into the opponent. Waving with his right hand, a red sword instantly appeared on Susanoo's right hand, and chipped away at the younger Itachi's Susanoo. Boom. The younger Itachi's reaction speed was a few points faster than Itachi had predicted. The Totsuka blade instantly transformed and resisted the Yata mirror. Then the left-handed Yata mirror was raised to block Itachi's slash. Because it was a battle of beliefs, the two of them went all out. Itachi knew that he couldn't drag it on for too long, so he doubled his pupil power. The wings behind him stirred, transforming the force and pressing towards this timeline's Itachi. Boom. Younger Itachi swung his sword away from the pressure and controlled Susanoo to fly backward. Itachi saw it, the Totsuka blade was flung away, but another red sword of light instantaneously appeared, cutting through the earth and chasing towards the other party. The giant Susanoo's foot stomped hard. Its wings shook violently and swept towards the opponent with a speed that was even faster than the slash. The sound of the air booming rang in Uchiha Itachi's ears, and at this moment, Uchiha Itachi's eyes had begun to blur. Blood flowed down his eyes and was quickly evaporated by Susanoo. Yusaka beads. As Itachi attacked, 3 interlinked tomos suddenly appeared above his head, and flew towards this timeline's Itachi, who had just stopped in his tracks. Whoosh. The 3 hooks were extremely fast, spinning almost frantically, and in an instant, it was in front of the younger Itachi. The young Itachi had just tried to seal it with the Totsuka blade, when Uchiha Itachi had rushed up and directly blocked it with his Totsuka blade. Then the Yata mirrors came up, and behind them, Itachi was the first to send out the Totsuka blade. 4 attacks came together. The younger Itachi's face suddenly changed. He didn't expect that his father had so much more combat experience than he did. Simply by catching himself at a disadvantage, he was able to expand it to such a frightening extent quickly. He didn't know if his father's replica of the Totsuka blade had the sealing ability, but he didn't dare to gamble, and could only use his left hand's yacht. Fortunately, not knowing if replicating required more pupil power, he felt that his father's pupil power had been somewhat exhausted. Just when younger Itachi was ready to resist even harder, the Yusaka bead slash from above was approaching. Whoosh. In the younger Itachi's incredulous gaze, the Yusaka beads directly tore his Susanoo's defense. The samurai leather armor on his Susanoo was like tofu, which was directly shot through by the Yusaka beads. Immediately after, he noticed that his father threw a scroll at the crack that his Susanoo was quickly healing. Then, the Yata mirror came with a bang and threw his own Susanoo backward. Whoosh. Itachi raised his hand, and a palm-sized token flew straight to the younger Itachi, and he grabbed it. Before he could see what it was, a powerful repulsive force suddenly exploded inside his Susanoo. The younger Itachi had no time to react, and Susanoo burst into pieces. Immediately after that, his whole body was directly knocked away by the repulsive force. Looking at his younger self flying outward, Uchiha Itachi slowly withdrew his gaze. Proof just as his spirit relaxed, a mouthful of blood gushed out. His body was too weak. Although the battle lasted only a few seconds, both his body and his eyes had reached the limit. At this moment, Uchiha Itachi's face was covered with blood, and the Susanoo on his body was dissipating uncontrollably. Uchiha Itachi directly fell from midair. Whoosh. A figure shrouded in a black robe appeared quietly, picked him up, and put him down gently. Itachi hearing a familiar voice, Itachi looked blankly, and in the blurred vision, he saw a blurry shadow. The man stretched out his hand and wiped the blood on his face for him. Father. Itachi gave a distorted smile and looked at him with expectation. He wanted to hear that the plan had been successful. Your mother has gone out with those people. Uchiha Itachi felt a warmth falling on his face. He smiled slightly as if his whole being had become ethereal. Itachi, your mother and I have never blamed you. Hearing Uchiha Fugaku's words, Uchiha Itachi was completely relieved. The smile on his lips became more and more real, and at this moment, he felt that he was more relaxed than ever. Father, wait for me. Amaterasu. As Uchiha Itachi drained his last pupil force, his eyes completely lost their color. At the same time, a small black flame suddenly appeared on his feet. It was the eternal flame, Amaterasu. At this moment, the flame was burning on him, but Itachi seemed to feel no pain. Father, the fusion of 2 Mangekyo of the same bloodline can awaken the eternal Mangekyo. Originally, this was a gift I prepared for Sasuke. But now, Sasuke has a better choice, so these eyes are for you. And the Uchiha clan inscription, which has been altered so that different eyes would be able to see different things. Use your eternal Mangekyo that can see the past to see, perhaps, the real content. Poof. Uchiha Itachi's left hand reached out. In the next moment, 2 blood-stained eyes appeared in the palm of his hand. Then, the whole person slowly stagnated and lost his life. Beneath his feet, the never-ending black flames continued to burn, rising and burning with Uchiha Itachi's body as sustenance. The sky suddenly began to rain as if it was crying. The 2 Mangekyo in Uchiha Fugaku's eyes rotated almost frantically, and the pupil power increased dramatically. Although his Mangekyo could no longer evolve, the death of Uchiha Itachi made his pupil power instantly reach an incomparably terrifying point. Konoha, my Uchiha clan will come back. After carefully storing the eyes from Itachi's hand, Uchiha Fugaku gazed deeply at Itachi, who was finally engulfed by the black flame and turned to leave. Now, both the barrier that enveloped Uchiha and the perception jutsu in Konohagakure have been destroyed by the chaotic chakra. With Uchiha Fugaku's skills, there was no difficulty in leaving without alerting anyone. As Uchiha Fugaku left, the figures of Anbu and Root appeared and began to collect the corpses of the Uchiha clan. A group of Root and Anbu members approached the ashes of Uchiha Itachi. At this moment, only half a piece of clothing with the Uchiha clan emblem was left burning slowly under the black flames. The ping-pong paddle-like clan emblem slowly disappeared under the burning black flames, as if symbolizing the scattered glory of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Fugaku is dead. You guys go count the others. Danzo arrived from afar. His one eye glanced faintly at Fugaku's ashes, with some pity in his heart. Such powerful eyes, I can't believe they couldn't have been left behind. For a long time, after the joint efforts of Anbu and Root, the death toll of the Uchiha clan had been counted. Listening to the report that 3 bodies were missing, Danzo's mind was clear. Except for Uchiha Itachi, his life and death was uncertain, and Uchiha Sasuke, who was still in school, everyone else was dead. Present time. Konohagakure. The sudden death of the 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, had plunged everyone into grief, except for Shimura Danzo. At that moment, he was filled with joy. That old man Hiruzen is finally dead. Senjutsu couldn't be Hokage, Jiraiya doesn't deserve it, doesn't that mean? Suddenly, a sore itch spread from Danzo's right arm, as if a bunch of small creatures were gnawing at his arm. Glancing at everyone still immersed in grief, Danzo gave a Root member a look, and then left the scene quietly. Arriving at a hidden place, Danzo looked around and quickly uncovered the bandage on his arm. When he saw the change on his arm, his whole body let out a cry of surprise. This is impossible. Shimura Danzo stared fixedly at his right arm. Then his chakra surged, but the scene in his eyes remained unchanged. It's not an illusion technique. Suddenly, Shimura Danzo was bewildered for a moment, and then looked at his right arm again. The 6 red eyes were scattered all over his arm. Spinning and turning, they looked extremely eerie. After checking each Sharingan again and finding that each was in normal condition, a hint of doubt arose in Shimura Danzo's mind. I obviously transplanted 6 Sharingan eyes. Why were there 10 on the video from the makeup exam space? If the makeup space was right, if I wasn't hit by an illusion technique myself, could it be that there's something wrong with my memory? Shaking his head, Danzo rewrapped the bandage and walked toward the crowd. The issue of memory should be considered later. Now, he had more important things to do. That was becoming the 5th Hokage. When Danzo came back, Konohagakure and Sunagakure were quarreling. The Reikage, Tsuchikage, Mizukage, and Mifune all coldly watched from the sidelines. There were a few shinobi behind them. They are excited to watch the 2 villages debate at the moment, wishing they would fight. Stop arguing. Shimura Danzo just came back and snorted coldly. With a swish, the Root members behind him pulled out their weapons in sync, making all the other voices stagnate. Then, Danzo approached the crowd with his Root and successfully attracted everyone's attention. Glancing at Chiyo, Danzo showed a grim smile on his face. Uzumaki Naruto, Kyuubi, Ichibi, and its Jinchuriki were all captured by Akatsuki. I believe that the task at hand is not to discuss at whose hands the dead cages died, but to organize people and bring them back. Danzo's icy gaze swept over everyone, finally landing between Inoki and the 4th Reikage. Kurigakure and Sunagakure were too weak, so weak that he didn't even pay attention to them. Especially Sunagakure. Now that Rasa was dead, the Jinchuriki and the tailed beast had been taken away. He felt that he could completely destroy Sunagakure with his Root. That's why Chiyo was just warned. If she didn't know what to do next, he wouldn't mind adding them to his 5th Hokage achievements. Organizing a rescue. From Akatsuki. Inoki looked at Shimura Danzo with a superficial smile. He knew too well what Danzo wanted right now. His eyes passed directly over Shimura Danzo, landed on Senjutsu and Jiraiya, then on the 2 Konoha advisors, and finally returned to Shimura Danzo. Lord Danzo, advisor of Konoha, may I ask, in what capacity are you organizing this rescue? Konoha's 5th Hokage, right? The 4th Reikage's voice was full of mockery, with no regard for Danzo's darkened face. In my opinion, you want to be the leader of this rescue, right? And then take this opportunity to become Konoha's cage. How are you worthy? You. With the ridicule from the 4th Reikage, Shimura Danzo's face was getting darker and darker. He didn't expect that the 4th Reikage, would say such things at this time. Wasn't he afraid that if he became the 5th Hokage and led Konoha, it would further threaten the interests of Kumagakure? Humph. Shimura Danzo's one eye narrowed, coldly looking at the 4th Reikage. The 4th Reikage, wasn't afraid of Danzo's gaze at all, and even directly ignored Danzo. He directed his gaze at Jiraiya and Senjutsunade, which almost drove Danzo crazy. I suggest that the 5 shinobi villages form a shinobi alliance in advance to catch Akatsuki off guard. Uzumaki Naruto and 2-tailed beasts must be taken back, especially Uzumaki Naruto. If they can't be taken back, then just kill him. The 4th Raikage's murderous words made Jiraiya's face change. He mumbled something a few times, but finally didn't say a word. He knew that at this moment, the proposal from the 4th Raikage was the correct decision. Uzumaki Nagato's strength was already excessive, especially after being enhanced again by the exam space. Right now, Jiraiya didn't know whether Uzumaki Naruto, who had practiced Senjutsu, would still be a match for him. Now, he took Uzumaki Naruto and took the 5th Kazekage. If they gave Nagato some time to train them both, Akatsuki would add 2 more cage-level powerhouses to their members. Even with Naruto's talent, no, I have to take Naruto back as soon as possible. Kurigakure is willing to form an allied shinobi force. The light of wisdom flashed into Rumime's eyes. Kurigakure was weak right now and unable to compete with Akatsuki. My son Agakure agreed to form an allied shinobi force. There was also Chiyo from Son Agakure. She just waved her hand, and Baki came forward to put away Rasa's body. Traces of the battle at the scene showed that Rasa and Orochimaru attacked Sarutobi Hiruzen, then Orochimaru turned against him and killed Rasa, and finally killed Sarutobi Hiruzen. But now Sarutobi Hiruzen was dead, and Orochimaru wasn't here, so their son Agakure couldn't reject this blame. Inoki floated in midair, at the same height as the crowd. He narrowed his eyes, and no one knew what he was thinking. Agakure also agrees. Then, everyone's eyes turned to Konohagakure. Konoha no sooner had Tsunade gotten halfway through her sentence, Danzo interrupted with a sneer. You are a shinobi who has just returned to the village. What qualifications do you have to represent Konoha? Danzo's icy gaze swept over the faces of each of Konoha's top management. The threats in his words weren't concealed at all. Sarutobi is dead. As the leader of Konoha's root, I can certainly lead everyone and continue Konohagakure's glory. Now, does anyone disagree with my election as the 5th Hokage? Danzo's gaze swept again to see no one stepping forward to protest. He smiled in satisfaction. It seems that no one disagrees. So, from today, I am Hyuga, Ino, Shika, Cho, Apuram, and other shinobi clan members looked at their patriarchs, only to find that their clan patriarchs were all just standing quietly in place. As if nothing had happened and they were waiting for something. I disagree. A moderate voice rang out, making Danzo's face suddenly gloomy. He turned his head to look, and his pupils fiercely contracted. The speaker turned out to be Sarutobi Asuma. Why is he here? Isn't he protecting the daimyo of the Land of Fire? Was it Sarutobi Hiruzen's order? Shimura Danzo was thinking about the reason why Sarutobi Asuma appeared here, and the deep meaning of why Sarutobi Hiruzen did so, when he heard Sarutobi Asuma's voice coldly say, Father just died, and here you are taking the Hokage seat. You tell me, are you really looking out for the village? Konoha can't live without a Hokage for a day. Especially now, when the shinobi allied forces are to be formed ahead of schedule. I can't let other shinobi villages see Konoha as a joke. Shut up. Hearing that Shimura Danzo was still arguing, Sarutobi Asuma instantly became furious. Pointing at Danzo with one hand, his finger almost poked Shimura Danzo in the face. You, Shimura Danzo, are selfish and stupid to the core. Sarutobi Asuma laughed in anger. My father's body is right there, the body of the 3rd Hokage is right there. In front of him, in front of other cages, you insist on taking the 5th Hokage seat. Now you're telling me you're doing it for Konoha, are you worthy? You don't deserve it. Look at those eyes on your right hand and the wood-release cells in your body. You're just fooling yourself. Not to mention that I disagree, the Sarutobi clan disagrees, and the Hyuga clan. They will also disapprove of you becoming Hokage. They're also afraid that one day you'll wipe out the Hyuga clan of Konoha, and replace your left arm with an arm full of Byakugan. You still want to be Hokage. Ftui. Sarutobi Asuma directly spat. He expressionlessly pulled the root member in front of himself, then pushed the root member out of the way. Sarutobi Asuma, for the sake of the dead Hiruzen, I advise you to understand what's good for you. What's good for me? I don't know what's good for me. Sarutobi Asuma suddenly turned his head sideways, and gave an apologetic look to Kurenai, who wasn't too far away. He knew what he would face when he came forward, but at the moment, the anger in his heart was beyond words. As soon as his father died, Shimura Danzo couldn't wait to jump out and become the 5th Hokage. What's the difference between this and dancing on his father's grave? And you want to be Hokage? 5th Hokage my ass. Sarutobi Asuma coldly glanced at Shimura Danzo, and directly said, I. Sarutobi Asuma. As a Jonin of Konohagakure, the guardian of the Land of Fire, the 12 Guardian Ninja, the new patriarch of the Sarutobi clan, and the son of the 3rd Hokage, I nominate Senju Tsunade Sama as the 5th Hokage. You want to die. Shimura Danzo was instantly enraged. He stared at Sarutobi Asuma, who was sneering at him. He just wanted to kill him directly. Tsunade Sama, please take the 5th Hokage position. Whoosh. All of Konoha's Anbu neatly bent down. Then they quickly got up and stood behind Senju Tsunade one after another, expressing their thoughts with their actions. Shimura Danzo's eyes were burning. At this moment, he couldn't wait to kill all the people here. He was the leader of Root. He worked hard for Konoha. He bled for Konoha. Why can't I be the 5th? Damn it. Hyuga Hayashi's eyes swept through the scene. His eyes wavered a few times, and then his body bent slightly. Tsunade Sama, please take the 5th Hokage position. Meanwhile, all of Konoha's clans quickly weighed everything in their hearts. The Shimura Danzo became Hokage, then in less than 3 years, all the power of the families would be controlled and hollowed out by him. If they chose Senju Tsunade, this possibility wouldn't exist at all. Moreover, the Senju clan had disappeared, so the decision was final. Thinking of this, the leaders of other clans in Konohagakure followed Hyuga Hayashi's example. Tsunade Sama, please take the 5th Hokage position and lead Konoha. You. Danzo's fingertips were trembling with anger. He didn't expect the situation, which he originally thought was a good one, would take a sharp turn for the worse. Humph. A Hokage's ascendancy requires the consent of the Land of Fire's daimyo. I am a member of the daimyo's 12 Guardian Ninja, and I can go back and explain the details to the daimyo. I don't need to bother Danzo-sama. Sarutobi Asuma's tone was very heavy, filled with unabashed ridicule. Danzo didn't panic at first. But after listening to Sarutobi Asuma's words, Danzo finally panicked. Although the daimyo's permission was required for the ascension of a cage, in fact, the real candidates were determined by the shinobi villages themselves, and later submitted to the daimyo. The daimyo's presence was more like a formality in the Hokage's transition process. Humph. The selection of Hokage must be agreed upon by all 3 of our Hokage advisors. Danzo looked at Senju Tsunade with a flash of anger and hatred in his eyes. Shimura Danzo would never agree to Tsunade becoming Hokage. She just returned to the village. Does she know anything about the village currently? Does she know the current form of the shinobi world? In the future video of the exam space, she was simply unqualified. You tell me, what qualifies Tsunade as a Hokage? Just as Shimura Danzo was expressing himself indignantly, 2 feigned voices sounded behind him, giving him a vicious and tragic backstab. Let Tsunade take the place of Hokage first. As long as Konoha's Jonin agree, we 2 Hokage advisors agree. I agree that Senju Tsunade should act as Hokage until a new Hokage is elected. I agree. Udatane Koharu and Mitakato Himura's voices sounded one after another, leaving Shimura Danzo silent for a moment. Danzo turned his head and stared blankly at Udatane Koharu and Mitakato Himura. He never expected that at this time, these 2 people would actually surprisingly. I can't believe they are doing this. At this moment in his mind, 2 people suddenly appeared. They were Uchiha Shusui and Haddock Tsukumo. He didn't expect that one day, he would be betrayed. You 2, how dare you betray me? Danzo's angry eyes, coldly looking at the 2. The 2 ignored Danzo's gaze and turned to the other shinobi villages that were watching, saying, from now on, Senju Tsunade will be the 5th Hokage, and will be responsible for all of Konoha's matters. Danzo's eyes narrowed. He found that things didn't seem to be that simple. These 2 old-timers, was it necessary for Senju Tsunade to carry some sort of blame? Danzo's mind moved. Under his control, the anger on his face remained unchanged. He flung his sleeve, and his figure directly disappeared. With swish swish swish, the Root members behind him followed and also disappeared. Only a few Root members remained in place. They were left behind to record the information that followed. Konoha agrees to form an allied shinobi force. Tsunade's expression remained unchanged. Rather, her face stayed cold as ice. She glanced at Udatane Koharu and Mitakato Himura, suppressed her anger, and then said, this time, Konoha will dispatch half of its strength to form an alliance, which includes all of Konoha's clans. Konoha will be the main force of this sneak attack plan, and will be the first to attack Akatsuki. Tsunade's words stunned everyone, especially Chiyo. His old eyes widened at the moment. She was an old rival to Tsunade and was beaten by Tsunade in the 3rd Shinobi World War. At this moment, she saw Tsunade's determination once again. She wasn't afraid of making such a big move at the moment she came to power. It seems that the princess of the Senju clan has her own backbone in Konoha. Could it be the Senju clan isn't as they seem to the outside world? With only one Senju princess left. Chiyo smacked her lips. She had long heard about the legacy of Konoha's various extended clans. If you compare Konoha to a fruit platter, the various families of Konoha are the fruits that make up the platter. You may think you see the entirety of the fruit, but when you are ready to eat it, you never know if underneath it carried the dirt or the root cell. Although my son Agakure isn't as strong as Konoha, half of the ninjas will be dispatched. In addition, I will personally lead the team. Chiyo's words surprised everyone again. Kurigakure will do the same, and I will lead. Terumi winked, and a full smile appeared at the corners of her mouth. This time, the so-called early formation of the allied shinobi force was just an early test of the 5 major shinobi villages. In other words, a way for all the shinobi villages to start honing a bond. After all, the current akatsuki was no longer in existence that a single shinobi village could defeat. However, no one expected Senju Tsunade, who just took office in Konoha, would be so bold as to take out half of Konoha's power directly. Hahaha, the Senju family's little girl has spunk. Inoki stroked his mustache and looked at Tsunade with a smile. He knew why Tsunade would send out so much power. Akatsuki snatched Uzumaki Naruto, and Uchiha Itachi took Uchiha Sasuke. From the video, even if Uchiha Sasuke weren't as good as Uzumaki Naruto in the future, he would grow into a leading shinobi in the shinobi world. Therefore, Konoha panicked. That was why Senju Tsunade had deployed half of their strength, and the reason why Tsunade was saying it now, it was purely a way to provoke everyone else. Inoki shook his head and glanced at Terumi from Kurigakure with a flash of irony in his eyes. Just a vase pretty to look at, Senju Tsunade had her own purpose. Chiyo had suddenly lost 2 Kazukijas, which made Tsunade even more anxious than Konoha. But you Kurigakure, why are you trying to join in? Recently, renegade shinobi have been causing rebellion at the Land of Earth's borders. Like Son Agakure, we can't take out much power. But a quarter of our power is still possible. Don't worry, we have Jonin and Chunin members in large numbers. I will personally lead the team. Haha. The 4th Reikage glanced at Inoki, who was floating in midair, but still not as tall as his own head. A disdainful laugh escaped his lips. Rebel shinobi, my ass. Who doesn't know who the neighbors of the Land of Earth are? This wasn't just lying without even blinking. This was not even regarding them as people. However, what made the 4th Reikage somewhat confused was that Akatsuki had kidnapped Inoki's granddaughter. Why wasn't Inoki panicking at all? This wasn't in line with Inoki's protective nature. Thinking about it, with Inoki's words already said, the 4th Reikage simply didn't bother to think of excuses. From Kumo, I will lead a third of Kamagakure's shinobi to join the allied forces. What about the chakra cannon? Will Kumo bring it out? As A's voice fell, Inoki's voice rang out, causing the Reikage's face to darken. He had guessed that these guys, after the exam, would set their eyes on the chakra cannons. Chakra cannons aren't suitable for sneak attacks, and besides, Akatsuki has hostages. Bring out your chakra cannons, and my Wagakure will send another quarter of our shinobi. Inoki looked straight at the 4th Reikage. One strike could destroy the moon, which means that one strike can also destroy a shinobi village. I have to make Kamagakure bring it out today, and with that find the weaknesses of that thing. And contact Idara ahead of time and destroy it for good. Heh, your granddaughter was kidnapped. You should be more anxious than me. Reikage smiled, looked at Inoki, and then said, since you bring out 1/2 of your troops, then Kamagakure will also bring out 1/2. The 5 major shinobi villages have each deployed half of their power, nearly 40,000 to 50,000 shinobi, and all of you would be leading the teams. I think, even if it's Akatsuki, they would certainly be defeated. And if you nodded to everyone, in that case, I will go back to the Land of Iron first. Saying that, without waiting for the crowd to reply, he directly led his people to leave. The momentum was as if he was afraid that these strong people would catch him if he left a minute later. The samurai Senju Tsunade withdrew her mind from the direction of Mifyune's departure. She was about to speak when she heard Inoki's voice ring out. Since it's an allied force, it's only natural to have an alliance commander. Inoki's voice slowly became weaker, but everyone clearly heard the meaning he wanted to express. The 4th Reikage squinted at Inoki and curled his lips. This old man also wants to be the commander of the allied shinobi forces. The commander of the allied shinobi forces has to have great strength and abundant tactics. Senju Tsunade's voice sounded. She then added, I think the 5 of us are almost the same in strategy, and the detailed difference is only the difference in strength. I suggest that for that survival exam in 3 days, we all go together to challenge the chosen one. And the shortest time wins. After thinking about it, Senju Tsunade added, or the one who lasts the longest will be the commander of this allied force. Because the chosen one is from Konoha, I relinquish the challenge for the commander position to avoid suspicion. But I will take the position of general counsel in the allied shinobi forces. Well, the 4th Reikage looked at Senju Tsunade meaningfully. He and Inoki looked at each other and found thorny issues in each other's eyes. They didn't know whether Senjutsunade was retreating to advance later on, or whether the general council position was what she originally wanted. But apparently, she had succeeded. I agree. We all have the qualifications for the exam anyway, so let's go for it. Alright, then 3 days later, we'll challenge the Chosen One together. Then the several people discussed some details, and agreed that the first ever formation of the Allied forces should be after the survival exam. When the commander of the Allied forces was elected, more than 40,000 people from the Allied forces would gather together to travel to Omegakure and destroy Akatsuki. The war has begun. The fourth Reikage lamented. Before any of them could say anything more, Senjutsunade's words of sending her guests had sounded. In that case, I have other business to attend to for Konoha. Lords, please be careful on your way back. Inoki glanced at Senjutsunade, who had already started to send off her guests, and took the lead, drifting backward. Because of Akatsuki, Konoha's Chunin exam had ended before it started. It's a pity. Konoha was suffering great changes, which was the best time to eat away at it. Unfortunately, neither he nor Terumi Mayor Chiyo was as stupid as Rasa. Seeing that the shinobi of each shinobi village withdrawing from Konoha one after another, Senjutsunade gently sighed in relief. With the current situation in the shinobi world, she felt that these people wouldn't add to the chaos. But with Rasa's example, who was brave enough to try it? Clan leaders, please meet at the Hokage's office in half an hour. Tsunade had a forced smile on her face. Also, I would like to ask the clan leaders to count the shinobi from each clan that qualified for the survival exam. Senjutsunade finished and took the lead in leaving. Jiraiya looked at the silent crowd and went with her. Oh? They're going to challenge the Chosen One in 3 days. Hearing the report from his men, Shimura Danzo's expression shifted. The commander of the allied shinobi forces would be chosen by challenging the Chosen One, and although it sounded a bit childish, it really wasn't a bad method. Just by doing so, Shimura Danzo felt that he had room to maneuver. If he took the lead in the challenge and succeeded, then joined the allied shinobi forces, the position of commander in the allied shinobi force would, and he would also get a huge reward for defeating the Chosen One in the exam space. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. When he thought of this, there was a meaningful smile at the corners of Danzo's lips. With his jutsu and the Sharingan on him, lasting for 3 minutes was simple. Not to mention 3 minutes, Danzo thought, I can last for 10, watch me. What's more, when the Chosen One sees me, he will naturally choose defeat. After all, he is Konoha's shinobi. Seeing me, Shimura Danzo, he would likely give up without a fight. Night guy, when you see me, I hope you behave, Shimura Danzo chuckled, thinking he had everything in the bag. His wind release could cut Susanoo, and his Sharingan could start the Izanagi manifold. Could that little might guy be a handful? No way. In 3 days, I'm going to show them all. Danzo repeatedly thought about it several times, thinking that there were no flaws. He smiled. He thought that this time, he had a huge advantage. There was no way he could lose. Boom. Bang. Boom 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 boom. In Omegakure, frequent muffled sounds mingled with explosive sounds, one after another. At the moment, the 5 youngsters of Akatsuki were watching a monster being kicked around like a ball, with jaws dropped. Originally, Shukaku beat up the bandaged Akatsuki member with a bruised nose. This made Shukaku extremely arrogant. He felt that the most fearsome person had left, and he could break out of here. But it turned out that the feeling was just a feeling. When he rushed to the guy carrying the big sword, his huge body was directly slapped back with a slash. After that, all kinds of jutsu, explosions, puppets, hooks, snakes, and other strange things all greeted him together. He was miserable after several rounds, except for the Kyuubi on Naruto's head that watched with interest. The 5 young ones couldn't bear to watch it. Art is an explosion ha-boom. Finally, after Jadara detonated an explosive clay monster that had been mixed into Shukaku's body in the battle just now, Shukaku passed out with the explosion. The fainted Shukaku's body kept getting smaller and smaller, and then it turned back into the tanuki that was less than the size of a head. Gaara trotted over and picked him up. TSK, boring, too weak. Tadara shook his head and was about to leave when a figure suddenly appeared in front of him and looked down at him from above. Not only him, but such a scene also appeared in front of the others that wanted to leave. Then, Divapath suddenly moved and flew upwards. Soon, he returned to the crowd with an unconscious child in his arms. Uzumaki Naruto looked over, and it was none other than Uchiha Sasuke, that nasty guy. Then, under the guidance of Divapath, the group of Akatsuki people was forced to sit in a row. Naruto and the other 6 children were at the front, and the other Akatsuki members were at the rear, lined up in a fan shape. Not only Uchiha Sasuke, who had just been awakened by Divapath, but also the Akatsuki group of people, looked at Asura Path at the forefront in confusion. Under the confused gazes of the crowd, the sure path's mouth mechanically opened, and something black came out. In the next moment, light cast out and projected something to the open space not far away. Gradually, images appeared on the projected screen. Chapter 1. Tomorrow will be better. Lesson 1. Jutsu is the primary productive force. Section 1. Earth releases wonderful usage. Earth release. It can be used for road repair, carving, and so on. The principle is character representatives. Kurasuchi, a cement road repairer, and Hada Kakashi, a dog hat carving master. The Akatsuki crowd's eyes went wide open when they saw this. Orochimaru's pupils went wide, and Kakuzu's green bean eyes exploded with an eerie glow. Not only the two of them but also the others. Dumbfounded. Thoroughly baffling. They looked to the 6 panes that surrounded them and rolled their throats with difficulty. At the top of a megakure. Although immensely shocked by the other party's Rinnegan, after confirming that the other party was Uchiha Fugaku, Uzumaki Nagato was ready to tell him all the information he knew. I know that you have already taken 2 exams, and I have seen what Itachi has gained. He can go back to the past. Is that the so-called exclusive reward? Uzumaki Nagato continued to listen, and fearing that Uchiha Sasuke would wake up in the middle, he told Diva Path to come and take him away. I want to know what happened in the original timeline. Uchiha Fugaku's voice was deep. He has suppressed this question for 3 years. The Uchiha clan had been living on a hidden island overseas these years. The island had several boundaries laid in succession around it. A dozen Mangekyou members were on duty in turns. Over the years, those children had grown up, and from time to time, they would ask about the events of that year, but he didn't know how to answer them. Fortunately, over the years, some people had guessed what happened back then. One after another, they awakened their eyes. Especially Uchiha Izumi, who thought Itachi was dead, and her ability 3 years ago, after Uchiha Itachi destroyed the Uchiha clan, he entered Akatsuki as a spy until the appearance of Exam Space. Before he came to me and said that he would go back and kill Shimura Danzo. Kill Shimura Danzo. Uchiha Fugaku froze for a moment. He knew of Shimura Danzo's hatred toward the Uchiha clan watching the exam. But he was still a little confused. Why didn't Itachi mention these things to him? I stopped him and gave him a suggestion. I told him to create an illusion and fake the Uchiha clan's end. Uzumaki Nagato's voice was subdued. Although there were no words of credit between the lines, it gave Uchiha Fugaku the feeling that he was the hero of the Uchiha clan. This made Uchiha Fugaku feel a little better about Uzumaki Nagato. Now that you are here, I think our plan has been successful. I just wonder how many of your Uchiha clan had escaped. Then, Uzumaki Nagato looked as if he randomly guessed 500. That scroll, it's yours too. Uchiha Fugaku froze. If the scroll wasn't Uzumaki Nagato's, there's no way he could have given such an accurate number. But if the scroll belonged to Uzumaki Nagato, then Itachi, ah yes, I gave Itachi 2 scrolls. Uzumaki Nagato's expression of taking things for granted made Uchiha Fugaku suddenly look stiff. Sure enough, both scrolls were his. However, if both scrolls belonged to Uzumaki Nagato, what did Itachi prepare? Seeing Uchiha Fugaku freeze, Uzumaki Nagato understood it. Sure enough, just as he thought. Uchiha Fugaku wasn't the only one who survived the night of Uchiha's demise. With a flash of light in his eyes, Uzumaki Nagato knew that the most difficult time had come. That was, to persuade the Uchiha clan. To get them to come out of hiding. Patriarch Fugaku, I wonder if Uchiha Itachi has told you about the Uchiha clan children he was planning to raise in a megakure. Uzumaki Nagato was all smiles. He looked at Uchiha Fugaku expectantly. No, never. Fugaku did not say much. The situation was still unclear, and he couldn't let the Uchiha clan, which had been hiding for so many years, reappear in the shinobi world based solely on Uzumaki Nagato's words. Then, now you have. Uzumaki Nagato had a smile on his face. With these few words, he had discovered how difficult Uchiha Fugaku was to deal with. Therefore, he decided to talk about the future with Fugaku in a different way. No negotiation couldn't be solved by illustrating how the profit would be shared, and if there was, the profit just wasn't big enough. Patriarch Fugaku, do you believe in the future? Future. Fugaku's expression was slightly moved. He had just used his pupils to look at Uzumaki Nagato. Fire. Fire all over the sky. The red flame that burned the entire shinobi world. It's just that Fugaku was a little puzzled. Under the flames, he didn't see people mourning, but people in joy. It's just that he didn't look too far at that moment either. At this moment, hearing Uzumaki Nagato remind him, Uchiha Fugaku's eyes instantly changed again. Eternal Mangekyou. The pupil of his right eye slowly moved, and a scene flashed through Uzumaki Fugaku's mind. Amidst the crimson flames in the sky, a figure separated heaven and earth. He was followed by countless shinobi, who wore peculiar forehead protectors. The figure was followed by a woman's back, with her hair hanging down to her feet, and she was floating in midair. Then came Uzumaki Nagato, Naruto, Sasuke, 5 Kages, Uchiha, and people from various shinobi clans. They all looked up at the figure, and their eyes were full of fighting spirit. Just as Uchiha Fugaku tried to get a better look at the figure, the image in his eyes abruptly shifted. A large mouth that covered the sky appeared in the heavens above the shinobi world, and the owner of the large mouth was a huge creature that seemed to swim like a fish. Behind it, countless figures not far behind it wandered in the void above. A piece of scale armor on its body was even larger than the moon in the shinobi world. As if the fish-like being sensed Uchiha Fugaku's prying eyes. A pair of giant eyes bursting with frightening lights suddenly looked over. A suddenly heavy atmosphere. Unbelievable terror instantly attacked. As it gazed, countless planets exploded and turned into fragments. The moon next to the shinobi world, without any resistance at all, was instantly destroyed. Die. 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 This thought came to Uchiha Fugaku's mind as he met the beast's gaze. Uchiha Fugaku turned its head in a hurry, but because of its oversized body, Uchiha Fugaku saw its pupils. At this moment, Uchiha Fugaku's scalp felt like it exploded. He was horrified to find that the giant pupil of the beast was densely reflecting countless corpses. Like a sea of corpses. These bodies were wide-eyed as if they had seen something horrible before they died, leaving them with an agonizing death. What chilled Uchiha Fugaku's whole body was that these corpses all had Rinnegan. Blue Rinnegan. Red Rinnegan. And even golden Rinnegan. That Uchiha Fugaku was instantly awakened. At the moment, his right eye was bleeding. In just a short moment, his whole body was covered in a cold sweat. It's horrifying, truly horrifying. At that moment, his face was full of panic. His head was full of those soul-gripping Rinnegan and those dead bodies. Who are those corpses? What is that giant fish beast? Uchiha Fugaku wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and looked at Uzumaki Nagato in front of him. His eyes momentarily drifted off into a daze. Uzumaki Nagato frowned. Just as Uchiha Fugaku stared at him, it gave him a strange feeling. This is my pupil technique. I can briefly see the future. Uchiha Fugaku almost wanted to say something else. Oh? What did you see? Uzumaki Nagato looked at the stunned Uchiha Fugaku with interest. He was curious about what would happen in the shinobi world's future that made this Uchiha Patriarch's expression change so much. Fire, crimson fire. A fire that burned the entire shinobi world. People were jumping and cheering in flames. Crimson fire. Uzumaki Nagato froze, then the corners of his mouth picked up. With sincerity in his eyes, he looked at Uchiha Fugaku and extended his right hand to Fugaku. I'm going to create a country. A country without a daimyo, a country without class segregation, a country where everyone can learn jutsu, a country where there are schools for every child to attend, and where the knowledge taught in school is no longer just about jutsu and fighting. In this country, the elderly will have hospitals to treat their illnesses. In this country, there would be no war. What there is only an external powerful force. This country will unify the entire shinobi world. This country will be called the land of shinobi. The colors of this country will be crimson. Uzumaki Nagato held out his arms as if he were a madman in a frenzy. I believe that in the future, if miracles have a color, it must be crimson. I believe that we can create such a miracle. Patriarch Uchiha Fugaku. Back then, Uchiha Madara started the shinobi village system with the Uchiha people, and time has proven him wrong. Now, the same choice is before you. How would you choose? The future land of shinobi needs the power of the Uchiha clan. The future of the shinobi world needs the power of the Uchiha clan. Patriarch Fugaku, would you like to be the first person to seize the opportunity? Uchiha Fugaku was completely dumbfounded when he looked at the spiraling Nagato, who seemed to be in a frenzy. His breathing it was getting heavier and heavier. Uchiha Fugaku took a deep breath. He didn't expect Uzumaki Nagato to have such great ambitions. Establish a country and unify the shinobi world. Wouldn't this mean a fourth shinobi world war? Uchiha Fugaku looked at the sincere Uzumaki Nagato and hesitated for a long time. He thought of Sasuke and Itachi and the future he saw in Uzumaki Nagato. He felt that nothing could stop Akatsuki unless Uchiha Madara were resurrected. Maybe he could give it a try. When are you going to build the land of shinobi? The next exam space is going to open, and during the live broadcast, I will announce the establishment of the land of shinobi to everyone in the shinobi world. Now we have to make some preparations, although Megakure itself is under our control. Nagato suddenly moved, his palm lifted, and the attraction jutsu on his palm generated. A small white snake was sucked out of the corner by him. Snake. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes were slightly contracted, and kunai appeared in his hand. He felt chakra in this snake. Obviously, this snake was a shinobi summoned snake. The kunai shot out and flew towards the little snake. At the next moment, the white snake's mouth opened and spat out Orochimaru's face, and he bit the kunai in his mouth. Orochimaru, I need an explanation. Nagato's voice was faint, and then he seemed to glance at Uchiha Fugaku without thinking much. Uchiha Fugaku moved, his eyes suddenly opened, and a wheel appeared in his eyes. Then a black stick appeared in his hand, pointing distantly at Orochimaru. Uzumaki Nagato saw this scene. His face suddenly changed. He discovered that Uchiha Fugaku utilized the Rinnegan much more liberally and skillfully than he did. Moreover, Uchiha Fugaku's Rinnegan was concealable. And his own couldn't be concealed. This caused several thoughts to flash in Uzumaki Nagato's mind one after another. But the more he thought, the more his heart sank. Rinnegan Orochimaru let out a bizarre shout and looked at the man in front of him in horror. He didn't expect that there would be another pair of Rinnegan in this world besides the leader. That's impossible. This is absolutely impossible. The Sage of Six Paths' eyes, how could there be two? Could it be that Rinnegan is just the evolution of the pupils reaching a certain limit? Just as how, some people would be too powerful and reach an immortal stage. Orochimaru's mind was rapidly turning. Because he didn't want to waste time, he came up to talk to the leader, but didn't expect that he would find such a thing. Gulp. Orochimaru's throat rolled. Just as he was about to speak, he saw the man who also owned a pair of Rinnegan indifferently say, Long time no see, Orochimaru. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and looked at the man in front of him, only to notice the Uchiha clothing on the other person. The Uchiha had disappeared from the shinobi world for a long time. Moreover, Orochimaru was so shocked when he saw the man's eyes, that he didn't pay attention to his clothes. But now Orochimaru was shocked. He recognized it. However, this can't be. The Uchiha clan was obviously destroyed. As the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, there was no way he could have been the one who slipped through the cracks. The commotion caused by that night was known throughout Konoha, and Orochimaru had placed undercover spies in Konoha, so he was naturally aware of it. Due to some kind of pressure, neither the various shinobi clans nor the civilians dared to discuss this matter. But if Uchiha Fugaku wasn't dead, why was Uchiha Sasuke still living in Konoha? What went wrong? Despite the great earthquake in his heart, Orochimaru's face didn't reveal any shock, as if the sickly pale face couldn't show any abnormality. Long time no see, Fugaku. Unexpectedly, Fugaku-kan is still alive. It seems that Fugaku-kan was prepared for what happened to the Uchiha clan back then. Fugaku nodded but said nothing. Then he looked at Uzumaki Nagato. Orochimaru's sudden appearance interrupted his conversation and revealed his existence. This gave him the idea of silencing someone. He works for me. Uzumaki Nagato's mind was also in turmoil at the moment. He was still thinking about his Rinnegan and looked towards Orochimaru with some impatience. Orochimaru, explain why you are here. Stared at by two pairs of Rinnegan, Orochimaru's scalp felt numb. He felt that he might be the only person in the shinobi world who had such treatment. If I had known this, I wouldn't have come here, even if I was beaten to death. Later, I came to make some suggestions for the following teaching content. Orochimaru stiffened his face and continued. Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Karen are both Uzumaki clan descendants, and the Uzumaki clan people are naturally sensitive to sealing techniques. I think that we should find someone who is good at sealing techniques to teach them. Uzumaki Nagato's heart stirred. He didn't expect Orochimaru would know how to teach students in accordance with their aptitude. Orochimaru licked his lips. He was a little nervous. Originally, he was just thinking about talking to the leader if he could spare him from learning useless things. What did Hada Kakashi's stone dog carving materials and differences mean? What did water release jutsu that could drive a hydraulic engine for irrigation mean? Dadara could be used to open up mountains, Kurasuchi could pave roads. What was all of that? These things never interested Orochimaru, but now even less. Because of the emergence of the exam space, Orochimaru had countless experimental conjectures to be confirmed. The topic he wanted to tackle recently was the restraining effect of intermediate armament haki on ninjutsu. He found that the armament haki rewarded by the system was something different from jutsu and similar to taijutsu. However, it was interesting that armament haki, which was similar to taijutsu, had a certain restraining effect on jutsu. He had cut open Sarutobi Hirzen's fire release with intermediate armament haki. Therefore, Orochimaru would like to know whether armament haki had a special effect on techniques involving chakra. For example, impure world reincarnation. For this reason, he had ransacked the graves of the martyrs of Konoha before attacking Sarutobi Hirzen. He even called back Kabuto from Konoha to help him complete the experiment. That was his original purpose, but now that the situation had changed, he naturally couldn't say that. I have a technique that can recall the dead from the Pure Land. As it happens, I know an Uzumaki clan member who was very good at sealing techniques, and, in addition, she has a certain relationship with Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Kushina. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Orochimaru dangerously. Calling the dead from the Pure Land was a great disrespect toward the dead. Fugaku looked at Uzumaki Nagato, but said nothing. What materials are needed? Orochimaru's words really aroused Uzumaki Nagato's interest. He had learned about the future Naruto's Senjutsu, which should belong to the inheritance from the Land of Toads. Originally, he was thinking of showing the 5 little ones no, it was now 6, and then take a trip to the Land of Toads. Together they could learn Senjutsu. But now, it seemed that plan could wait. However, Nagato didn't want them to have great strength before they had sufficient mental quality. Especially Uchiha Sasuke. But sealing techniques were no problem at all. I have all the materials ready. Orochimaru said with some heartache, but he felt a little better when he saw Nagato nod in satisfaction. It was not that he was trying to flatter him, but he really couldn't beat these two right now. After all, one of his hands had been forcibly sealed. Thinking about his hands, Orochimaru was a little thankful. Fortunately, his reaction was quick, and his strength was strengthened by the exam space. Otherwise, Orochimaru felt that he could have lost both hands. Thinking about it, Orochimaru didn't take long to prepare. Taking out a corpse from one scroll and a mass of red hair from another scroll. Forming a seal with one hand. Summoning. Impure World Reincarnation. As Orochimaru unleashed the jutsu, the ground suddenly surged with a large amount of mud to swallow the corpse. The next moment, the mud dispersed, and a figure was already lying there. She was covered in red hair, wearing a calf-length green home dress, and her face was covered with the cracks that belonged to the dead. She almost looked appalling. Kushina. Uchiha Fugaku spoke softly. His wife was Uzumaki Kushina's good friend, so he naturally knew her. Fugaku. Uzumaki Kushina opened her mouth, and the familiar voice made Uchiha Fugaku instantly understand that this was truly Uzumaki Kushina. Then, a burst of brilliant light erupted from his eyes. Orochimaru, can you use this jutsu again? Swish. In a flash, the excited Uchiha Fugaku appeared directly in front of Orochimaru. A pair of reddish Rinnegan stared at him. Can I say no? Orochimaru nodded with a wry smile. Unexpectedly, he also became a fish on the chopping block one day. Then, he saw Uchiha Fugaku nervously taking out a wisp of black hair from his arms. It's Itachi's hair. Itachi. Itachi is dead. Orochimaru was stunned. Wasn't he standing by his side when they were in the exam space? Around 10 minutes ago, he watched the other party leave with Uchiha Sasuke in his arms. How could he be dead? Orochimaru's heart was full of doubts. He felt that Uchiha Fugaku was playing with himself. Impure World Reincarnation can only summon the dead from the Pure Land, not a reverse death technique. Orochimaru's voice was slightly cold. He was the cold gentleman Orochimaru, and a Sannin, with his own bottom line and arrogance. Orochimaru, do it again. After glancing at Uzumaki Nagato, Orochimaru had to take out a corpse again, and perform another Impure World Reincarnation. Only this time, the ground around the corpse just started to surge up, but it didn't drown the body. In the next moment, it receded like a flood, revealing the original corpse. Impure World Reincarnation failed. What does this mean? Uchiha Fugaku asked with expectation and nervousness. His body was even slightly trembling from excessive tension now, something that was almost impossible for someone at his level. Uchiha Itachi's isn't in Pure Land. Orochimaru glanced at Uchiha Fugaku grumpily. He was almost sure that the other party was just playing with him. Okay, Orochimaru, you take her down first. Tell her anything she wants to ask and anything she needs to do, and let her make her own choices. Uzumaki Nagato looked at Uchiha Fugaku. His body was shaking as if it was difficult to suppress his excitement as he spoke to Orochimaru. Itachi isn't dead yet. Itachi isn't dead yet. Itachi isn't dead yet. Uchiha Fugaku's mind was filled with this sentence at this moment. He knew. Uchiha Fugaku's son won't die that easily. There was no doubt that the Itachi, who returned from the future, was dead. After all, he had been burned away by the black flame. But the old Itachi, though he was blown away with the scroll, didn't die. But Uchiha Fugaku suddenly got confused again. If that Itachi didn't die, where did he disappear to? The more Uchiha Fugaku thought about it, the more confused he was. He was already going crazy with this weird space-time logic. What the hell happened? All of this, only Itachi knew. He must find him and ask him clearly. Uchiha Fugaku forced down all the speculations in his heart. Looking at Uzumaki Nagato, the Uchiha clan can join a megacure, but in a megacure, the ones that were going crazy weren't only Uchiha Fugaku and Uzumaki Nagato. The other Akatsuki members were surrounded by the 6 paths and forced to study, too. The unfamiliar and strange knowledge, and the expressionless pains, made everything seem weird. But now, in Imegakure, someone was going even crazier than they were. It was Uzumaki Kushina. Sealing technique. Adamantine sealing chains. With a low voice, several chakra chains immediately stretched out behind Uzumaki Kushina and directly wrapped around Orochimaru's neck, body and limbs as he was about to escape. What's more frightening was that these chakra chains had the powerful sealing ability, which directly sealed Orochimaru's chakra, so that he couldn't even use a shadow clone. He could only watch as Uzumaki Kushina, with her red hair fluttering, approached him step by step. "Can you summon that old guy Sarutobi Hiruzen out? I'm going to beat him up." Uzumaki, although Orochimaru said very little, she had read between the lines and heard the suffering her son had endured over the years. Sarutobi Hiruzen, that old fart. How dare he let my son eat expired instant noodles. Damn it. Sarutobi Hiruzen, like Namikaze Minato, used the Reaper death seal at the last moment, and his soul isn't in the Pure Land, and can be reborn with the impure world reincarnation. Orochimaru licked his lips with a headache. Sure enough, these guys who are good at sealing techniques are really difficult to deal with. If it weren't for the Shinra Tensei by Uzumaki Nagato in the video in the exam space, Orochimaru was going to use Uzumaki Kushina as his backup. He just happened to see something he shouldn't have seen while looking for the leader. Uzumaki Kushina was a sealing-type shinobi. Orochimaru would never be able to reincarnate through the impure world reincarnation if she sealed him. But the good news was that Orochimaru wasn't in danger, even though his head felt like it was tingling with pins and needles. For various reasons, he didn't do anything in Uzumaki Kushina's impure world reincarnation, but in the same way, Uzumaki Kushina had something restricting her. Uzumaki Naruto was taken out of Konoha by the leader, Nagato. "He's over there. Do you want to go and see?" Naruto. Sure enough, hearing the news about Uzumaki Naruto in Orochimaru's eerie voice, Uzumaki Kushina immediately waved her hand to remove the seal from Orochimaru's body. "Is my son over there?" Swish. Her perception was instantly opened in full. As a member of the Uzumaki clan, her perception ability was amazing, and most of the Megakure immediately appeared in her mind. Soon, two familiar chakras appeared in her perception. Naruto. Oh no, it's Kyuubi. Boom. Uzumaki Kushina's face suddenly changed. She heavily stomped her feet, and cracks like cobwebs exploded under her feet. Then, Uzumaki Kushina's figure instantly disappeared. Orochimaru watched Kushina disappear, shrugged, and walked to the side. His purpose of not wanting to attend classes had been achieved. As for the chaos in Imegakure, it had nothing to do with him. An enemy. Uzumaki Karen was the first to perceive the chakra fluctuation from Uzumaki Kushina. In her perception, a majestic figure with chakra was blasting this way. Enemy. Uzumaki Karen's words stunned everyone. They got up quickly, looking in Kushina's direction. Enemy? Good. Good. Okay. Come on, somebody, anybody. Come and destroy Imegakure. Destroy the world. We will never attack, let alone stop you. We really don't want to study this. Sensing the opponent's violent chakra, everyone turned their heads to look at the 6 panes, only to find that they weren't moving, which surprised the Akatsuki crowd. Is it her? On Uzumaki Naruto's head, Kurama looked suspiciously in that direction. He stayed in her body longer than Uzumaki Naruto, so he couldn't recognize the wrong person. But isn't she dead? Whoosh. Before Kurama could think too much, in the next moment, a red figure instantly arrived. Behind her, a dozen chains of pure red chakra danced wildly, as if they were bizarre and domineering red snakes. Without waiting for the crowd to react, the figure had already arrived in front of the crowd, and a fist ruthlessly blasted at the Kyuubi above Naruto's head. Bang. Naruto just felt his head get lighter, and then he realized that he was caught under someone's armpit. Shooting a dozen chains to the ground behind her, Kushina pulled herself back, and with Naruto in her arms, she left at a faster speed than when she came. After several ups and downs, she stood still, blocking Uzumaki Naruto behind her. Uzumaki Kushina looked coldly at Kurama, who was beaten by her. She knew that this guy wasn't that simple to defeat. In the next moment, Uzumaki Kushina's overbearing voice resounded in the skies above Imegakure. "How dare you bully my son? Kyuubi, get over here and die." "Shit, you crazy woman. I haven't even touched him yet." Hundreds of meters away, Kurama got up and swore. He didn't know how this woman was resurrected, but he still needed to act timid. He wasn't a stupid tanuki, not to mention Akatsuki, these terrible guys, but this inexplicably resurrected woman alone could suppress his existence. So, though full of anger, he still couldn't show his true heart. He could only curse under his breath. The difference in the Kyuubi made Uzumaki Kushina flabbergasted. She was ready to fire up her anger at the Kyuubi, so that Naruto could see his mother's bravery. Unexpectedly, the Kyuubi actually wimped out. Seeing Kurama swearing and running to the head of another little girl with red hair and glasses, Uzumaki Kushina's eyes suddenly lit up. The little red-haired girl and Uzumaki clan member. Was this the wife Naruto found for himself? Yes, the same aesthetics as his stupid father. You have lied to a little girl since you were a child. Would he change after he grows up? Uzumaki Kushina's eyes scanned up and down at Uzumaki Karen. As the saying goes, the more a mother-in-law looks at her daughter-in-law, the more satisfied she becomes. But at that moment, Uzumaki Karen was about to cry. She was scared to death right now. It's not enough to have a vicious and horrible monster on her head, she still had a fierce woman staring at her. Her face was cracked, and she didn't look like a living person at all. She stared at her as if she was going to eat her. What sins have I committed? Uzumaki Karen unwillingly shed tears. You, stinky fox, go lie down on the side. Thinking that her daughter-in-law had been wronged, Uzumaki Kushina pointed at him, causing the Kyuubi, who had just plopped down, to freeze. Then he stood up helplessly, shook his head, and jumped to the top of Hyuga Hinata's head. Just before he stood firm, he was caught by a pair of small hands, held in a death grip. A woman is hugging Naruto-kun. It's not me. It's not me. If she's dead, does that count? Listening to the murmur, like a devil whispering in his ear, Kurama inexplicably shivered. This complaint is staggering. Hinata's clean white eyes stared at the odd woman hugging Naruto with a deadly stare. But before she turned hostile, what happened next made her almost faint with shame. She saw the woman turn back around and slap the frozen Naruto on the back of the head with a smack. Call me mom. Mom. Smack. Call me again. Mom. Smack. Why don't you take care of yourself? Didn't I tell you, don't be picky about food, eat more, and grow up quickly. Remember to take a bath on time every day, take a bath to warm up, don't stay up late, and make sure you sleep. At some point, Uzumaki Kushina couldn't go on. Her voice was getting lower and lower, her speech was getting slower and slower, her eyes were obviously unusually swollen, but she couldn't cry. She held Uzumaki Naruto in her arms, and her voice was full of remorse. Naruto, I'm sorry. Uzumaki Naruto hadn't reacted to the shock until now. Even the mom he called out was an instinctive reaction from his body. From the moment he was put down by this woman, from the moment this woman finished the first sentence, he froze. A word that he never called Uzumaki Naruto didn't know why. This woman, who obviously had no heat in her body, gave him a warm feeling. He also didn't know why his heart was angry, wanting to push the woman away, and loudly ask her why she didn't appear in so many years. But he was gently embraced by this woman, his anger turned into grievances. He wanted to cry. You're my mom. Smack. Do you know a man named Hada Kakashi? I don't know. Jiraiya. Mom, are you talking about the Sanin Jiraiya? Do you know him? I don't know. Uzumaki Kushina paused. She thought her son would know Jiraiya. Let's go, come with me to Konoha. I'll make them pay for this. Uzumaki Kushina pulled Uzumaki Naruto and was about to leave. The six pains were about to stop her, but to their surprise, Uzumaki Naruto stopped her first. Mom, I haven't finished my class yet. Uzumaki Kushina froze, and then realized that a group of people was looking over at Uzumaki Naruto's position just now, with curious faces. Ahaha, hello guys, I'm Uzumaki Naruto's mom, Kushina. Uzumaki Kushina waved awkwardly and then asked Naruto in a low voice, who are these people? They're my rivals. Nagato and Ikki said that when I learn these things, I can go back to Konoha and become Hokage. They're all my rivals, and I want to do better than them. I want to be Hokage. Mom, I have to be Hokage. Uzumaki Kushina was covered with black lines. Before she could digest Naruto's words, she watched Naruto throw off her hand and rush back to his original position, and sat down. At Pain's urging, the others reluctantly sat back down, and a Surpath started playing the video again. In the same place, only a shocked Uzumaki Kushina was left in the wind. 3 days flew by as Naruto happily studied. 3 days wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. It enabled Uzumaki Nagato and Uchiha Fugaku to reach an initial consensus on cooperation, allowing Uchiha Fugaku to move and bring back 100 Uchiha clan members. It also enabled the Akatsuki crowd to initially understand the meaning of Nagato's, a crimson future. After everyone had studied for 2.5 days, Nagato himself came up with a set of test papers. To everyone's surprise, Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Kushina tied for first place with 99 points. Uchiha Sasuke and Kurosuchi also almost tied for the top spot, only lacking 11 points. It was worth mentioning that Dadara, who Nagato had high hopes for, got 38 points. Now, there were still 5 minutes to go before the survival exam. At the square of Omegakure, everyone who had the exam, Uchiha Sasuke's eyes glanced at Uzumaki Naruto with their scarlet glow. At the moment, to Uzumaki Naruto's left was Hyuga Hinata, who was blushing with her head down. To his right was Uzumaki Karen, who was getting special attention from Uzumaki Kushina. Uzumaki Kushina knelt on one knee, at the same height as the three youngsters in front of her, and patiently advised them. This is a survival exam, so try to stay alive as long as you can. I've talked to the rest of Akatsuki, and they will try to take care of you when they see you, so don't worry. If they don't do it, I'll clean them up when they get out. Also, this exam is just an ordinary exam, so don't take it too seriously and relax. I believe you guys will achieve good results. And, Naruto, don't be a hero. And retracting his gaze, Sasuke suppressed the deep envy in his eyes. Humph. Only the weak flock together, the strong walk alone. Uchiha Sasuke licked his somewhat dry and cracked lips. He was now no longer the boy who opened a single Huk Tomo on the night of the clan's extermination. He already had 3 Tomo now. With a glint of hatred in his eyes, he was sure that the guy would also come to the exam. He was going to kill that man in this exam. As the countdown on the token came to an end, all those with exam qualifications suddenly found that they had appeared in an unfamiliar location. Immediately afterward, an exclusive holographic screen popped up in front of each examinee. Extended version survival exam has started. Exam panel. Loaded. Map selection. Wilderness combat. Selected chosen one. Might guy. Current remaining examinees. 99, 1 absent. At the same time, the live screen appeared again in front of everyone. This time, unlike in the past, the screen in front of everyone was divided into 100 squares. The people who watched the live broadcast, like God, looked down on every examinee. There's a person missing. It's Itachi. Outside a Megakur's square, a black-robed Uchiha Fugaku stared at the screen in front of him. His eyes quickly swept over all the screens, but he couldn't find Uchiha Itachi. He came here to send Sasuke to take the exam, although Sasuke didn't know they were still alive. He saw the loneliness in Sasuke's eyes just now, but he wouldn't touch Sasuke until he could figure out Itachi's arrangement. Beside Uchiha Fugaku, a woman with a raised belly was looking at the screen with teary eyes, full of loss. Next to the woman, the girl holding her, with a mole at the corner of her eye, also had tears in her eyes at this moment. Itachi, where is he? Hearing Makoto's question, Uchiha Fugaku's face changed slightly. He finally sighed and shook his head. He didn't know the answer to this question either. Both Makoto and Izumi only knew parts of the truth. They had been looking forward to meeting Itachi during this survival exam, because Itachi had also received an exam token during the makeup exam. But Itachi was absent. Uchiha Fugaku was also a little confused. Just now, he also thought that Itachi, his extermination wasn't accomplished, would appear here. After all, Itachi wouldn't die that easily. On that day, Orochimaru also confirmed that Itachi's soul wasn't in Pure Land. But, now Itachi, where are you? You are equipped with elementary Byakugan, and have the ability to see through things in short distances. Upgrade to intermediate Byakugan. When 9th Ryuji entered the exam space, the first thing he did was to search the field in front of him. Soon he found a pair of Byakugan on the ground not far away, which made him feel a little happy. He directly stuffed the eyes into his eyes. In an instant, his eyes turned white. Ryuji, who had received the Byakugan, continued his search and soon found the first jutsu. You picked up wood release. Cutting technique, level 1 cutting technique, level 1. A wooden spike is summoned within 5 meters. The stabbed target will lose 1 unit of health. Cooldown time. 10 seconds. Ryuji equipped it on his only skull bar, and was ready to go hunting for other examinees. But he didn't notice that from his position in the corner of the map. He wasn't the only one in the far corner of the map, there were others, and at the moment, they were curiously looking at the introduction on their panels. Each examinee had 3 units of health, and would lose the ability to continue the competition if their health was zeroed out, or if they voluntarily gave up. Everyone had a kunai in their hand, and once they were stabbed, they would lose 1 unit of health. If they hit parts like the throat and heart, 2 health units would be deducted. There was only 1 initial skill bar, which would be activated continuously as they killed people, and up to 3 could be activated. And killing people could earn them skill upgrade points, which could be used to upgrade skills. As long as there were enough upgrades, wood release's elementary cutting technique could be turned into deep forest bloom. It was worth mentioning that after killing 1 person, they would get the amount of health equivalent to the amount of damage they caused to their opponent. Moreover, the deceased party would turn into a treasure chest, from which the winner could obtain all his items, abilities, and upgrade counts. You have picked up the elementary Byakugan, and have the ability to see through things in short distances. You have picked up the elementary Sharingan, and have the ability to slow things down in your sights. Meanwhile, Hyuga Hiyashi, who was also in the exam space, had already picked up 3 Byakugan and 2 Sharingan. The Sharingan. This means that the information on Konoha's 2-eye technique bloodline limit would be completely leaked. After a half-second of contemplation, Hyuga Hiyashi incorporated the most familiar Byakugan eyes into his own for a moment, and his world turned black and white. Not even a single defect in the eyes. The familiar sensation coming from his eyes caused Hyuga Hiyashi's face to change instantly. He thought that the Byakugan, which were unusual in the exam space, were the eyes of some branch family, but he never thought that they would be true eyes of the clan. This completely expose the secrets of the Byakugan. Hyuga Hiyashi took 2 deep breaths, forced down the shock in his heart, and turned his head to look at a dialogue box that popped up. You are equipped with elementary Byakugan, and have the ability to see through things in short distances. Upgrade to intermediate Byakugan. 1/9, elementary Byakugan. Upgrade to intermediate Byakugan. 1/9. Hyuga Hiyashi looked at the screen suspiciously, and then tried to put the other 2 pairs of white eyes on his hand into his eyes. You are equipped with elementary Byakugan, and have the ability to see through things in short distances. Upgrade to intermediate Byakugan. 2/9. You are equipped with elementary Byakugan, and have the ability to see through things in short distances. Upgrade to intermediate Byakugan. 3/9. Looking at the text prompt on the screen, Hyuga Hiyashi was instantly shocked. He was afraid to think about what this represented. He stared at the 4 words elementary Byakugan and intermediate Byakugan with deadly eyes. His breathing instantly became erratic. No way. That's impossible. Hyuga Hiyashi's teeth were clenched to death. He didn't dare to imagine that the Byakugan, like the Sharingan, could evolve. No. Never. Even if the Byakugan in the examination space could be upgraded, the Byakugan, in reality, can be upgraded. Hyuga Hiyashi's face was grim as he looked at the 3/9 on the screen. In the next moment, he instantly moved. He couldn't care less about anything else now. He had to find the 9 white eyes and see for himself. What the hell was an intermediate Byakugan that was made from 9 Byakugan? That patriarch in the Hyuga clan land. The Hyuga clan looked at their patriarch, who lost his composure for a moment and fell into dead silence. They were all Hyuga clansmen. The Hyuga clan had a total of 3 examinees, and naturally, the one they were most concerned about was the strongest clan member, the patriarch. But what everyone couldn't imagine was that their own patriarch, who had just entered the exam space, found something remarkable. It was more than remarkable, and it destroyed the Hyuga clan's worldview. The Byakugan. Unexpectedly, it could evolve. This not to mention an ordinary shinobi from Hyuga. Even the Hyuga clan elder was in a daze. At this moment, he also looked at Hyuga Hiyashi, who was frantically looking for Byakugan on the screen in horror. At that moment, their heads felt like they were being struck by thunder. All their thoughts were being stuck and almost turned into mush. They couldn't think at all. Elementary Byakugan, elementary Byakugan. They couldn't imagine that the Byakugan that their clan was very proud of was only the elementary Byakugan in the exam space. The lowest Byakugan. They could only console themselves. If that's all, it's fine. After all, they couldn't give birth to any idea of rebuttal, because of the miraculous exam space. But if the Byakugan of the clan was only the elementary Byakugan, then the upgraded intermediate Byakugan there could be an advanced Byakugan. What could it be? When they thought about it, they got excited. They couldn't wait for Patriarch Hiyashi to gather all 9 Byakugan quickly, so they could witness the wonders of the intermediate Byakugan. But the excited Hyuga clansman didn't notice that the elder of the clan beside them was now pale, and his body was shaking like a sieve. The Sharingan could evolve, which was a secret known to everyone in Konoha. As a similar eye technique, there seemed to be nothing wrong for the Byakugan to be able to evolve too. But, if it only took 9 Byakugan of the clan to synthesize a more advanced eye this. He could already imagine what would happen to the Hyuga clan in the future, if this matter was confirmed. It was no exaggeration to say that the names of Hyuga clan members would frequently appear in the black market of the shinobi world in the future. After all, compared to the Uchiha clan, the Hyuga clan didn't have a legendary figure in their past. The elder deeply looked in the direction of the Hyuga clan's branch. Originally, the purpose of separation was to protect the clan. But if this matter was brought to fruition, the safest one from the outside world would instead become the Hyuga branch family. The cage bird became a protection seal. While the Hyuga clan waited anxiously, Hyuga Hiyashi had gathered all the white eyes needed for evolution, and started the integration. In the exam space, Hyuga Hiyashi had collected 9 pairs of Byakugan. At that moment, he was looking at his new eyes with horror. Congratulations, you have gained the intermediate Byakugan, Jogan. Upgrade to advanced Byakugan. 1/9. Jogan has the ability to see through things in short distances, seeing spatial fluctuations, increase chakra to a certain extent, and absorb chakra this. Looking at the analysis, Hyuga Hiyashi felt as if he couldn't even breathe. The Byakugan could really evolve. He didn't know whether it was just because he was in the exam space or if it was true in the real world too. If it was the same in the real world, this is terrible. Truly terrible. This pair of Jogan not only had the ability to see through spatial traces, but they could even absorb and increase chakra to some extent. If that was all, then so be it. But this Jogan could still evolve. They could still evolve into the advanced Byakugan. Hyuga Hiyashi didn't know what to say at this moment. He looked blankly at the world in his eyes. Unlike the black and white of the Byakugan, Jogan possessed the ability to see through things, and through a much wider range. It was all clear. What shocked Hyuga Hiyashi even more was the fact that Jogan saw the world in color. Hyuga Hiyashi suppressed the shock in his heart. He chose an elementary grade fireball technique to add to his skill bar, and searched for other items with the help of his Jogan. 9 Jogan were needed to evolve the intermediate Byakugan into advanced Byakugan. This wasn't something that could be done in a short time. Hyuga Hiyashi's change was seen by all those who were watching him, especially the Hyuga clan. At this moment, seeing the black eyes and white pupils of their own patriarch, and thinking about the introduction of the Jogan on the patriarch's attribute panel just now, everyone fell into dead silence. They never thought that the Byakugan could really evolve, and Jogan's ability to evolve was even more terrifying. Seeing spatial fluctuations. That alone would drive everyone in the shinobi world crazy. Because this meant that the most bizarre spatial jutsu in the shinobi world, even the time-space jutsu, would have nowhere to hide under these eyes. How did the fourth Hokage suppress the other shinobi villages? Wasn't it because of his Flying Thunder God technique that allowed him to mow down Jonin-level shinobi on the battlefield quickly? However, if Jogan had been there, the surprise attack nature of the fourth Hokage's Flying Thunder God technique would have been nullified. With someone who could see the traces and movements of the other's spatial jutsu, at that time, countless jutsu attacks would be waiting for him at the exit. As long as they had that kind of person, he would die even if it were Namikaze Minato. The spatial jutsu could be restrained by this Jogan. Not to mention, there was also the ability to absorb and increase chakra. Kurigakure's Ao was now staring at Hyuga Hiyashi's Jogan. He wasn't qualified to take part in the exam, so he was taking a group of people to record and write the exam contents right now. He never thought that, when the exam had just started, the Hyuga clan could already discover such shocking things. The Byakugan could evolve. Shit. The sound of a pen cracking in his hand rang out. Al lowered his head so that no one would see the difference in his expression. His current position and strength among the Kiri shinobi came mostly from his Byakugan. This was a major reason why he was irreplaceable in Kurigakure. His Byakugan could evolve. Congratulations, you have found the lost treasure chest. Please answer the question to open the treasure chest. Is the end of the evolution for the Byakugan, the Tensugan? Yes. Congratulations on winning the only Akagan in this exam. Akagan, special. Cannot be upgraded. It can create chakra images against the Byakugan and interfere with the evaluation of the Byakugan below the intermediate level. Translator. Akagan equals Rameru's eye technique. You will have the penetrating vision, sense power, and sense danger. Otsutsuki Taneri's face was expressionless as he set the pair of Akagan in the box into his own eye sockets. The eyes of the lower world could restrain the Byakugan. Interesting. It was the first time Otsutsuki Taneri saw the outside world with his own eyes. He turned and walked out. At the same time, everyone watching the battle in the shinobi world watched the screen in front of them. The screen showing Hyuga Hiyashi and the screen showing Otsutsuki Taneri were fused together. This was an encounter. This is going to break out into battle. Thinking that, instantly, everyone in the shinobi world turned their eyes toward the fused screens. Sure enough, on the screen, Hyuga Hiyashi had confronted Otsutsuki Taneri. Byakugan. Otsutsuki Taneri saw Hyuga Hiyashi's eyes and whispered, "No Tomo. Is that an evolved Sharingan?" Hyuga Hiyashi was also very different at this moment. He understood the eyes of each Uchiha clan, which all have Tomos in them. Along the way, he saw several Sharingan with 3 Tomo in them. The Byakugan and Sharingan seemed to be set up intentionally by the exam space, in extremely large numbers. Hyuga Hiyashi opened the Jogan and looked warily at the strangely dressed teenager in front of him. Just as he was staring intently at the other party, there was a flash of red light in their eyes. At the instant when the red light flashed, the opponent's figure abruptly disappeared in Hyuga Hiyashi's eyes. You have been attacked by Akagan's special illusion technique against the Byakugan. Your eyes are the intermediate Byakugan, and aren't exempt from the illusion technique. You have not cracked the illusion technique issued. You will hallucinate for 1.5 seconds. You have been attacked by Water Release. Water Dragon Bullet Technique, Level 1, Health -1. Your illusion technique status is interrupted. Hyuga Hiashi saw that his illusion technique was cancelled, and without saying a word, he directly unleashed his only ninjutsu, Fireball Technique. Fireball Technique, Level 1. Spit out a fan-shaped flame within 2 meters in front of you. A direct hit will cost your opponent 1 unit of health. Small probability to incur a burning state to the enemy. Incurring half a unit health loss per second, lasting for 2 seconds. A mouthful of fireball was spat out, and Hyuga Hiashi immediately drew back. But it was too late. Inside from the flames, a chilling kunai shot out and plunged directly into his throat. Critical strike. Heath -2 Hyuga Hiashi instantly covered his neck, but it didn't work. He looked at Otsutsuki Toneri with stunned eyes, not expecting that he would be eliminated so soon. It's those eyes. It's not the Sharingan. It's definitely not Sharingan. A Kagen. Yes, the exam space called it a Kagen. Hyuga Hiashi stared into Otsutsuki Toneri's eyes. These eyes were specialized in countering the Byakugan. Even the upgraded Byakugan was no match for them. If it was an ordinary Byakugan, meeting these eyes without waiting for Hyuga Hiashi to think too much, in the next moment, his body had turned into a light and returned to the Hyuga clan land. And in his place, a wooden box was left behind. Hyuga Hiashi's lid. Obtain Fire Release, Level 1. Great Fireball Technique. Obtain Intermediate Byakugan. Jogan. You have killed Hyuga Hiashi. Obtain Health. 3 units. Obtain Skill Evolution Card. 1. Unblock Skill Bar. When throwing Great Fireball Technique into his newly unsealed skill bar, Otsutsuki Toneri incidentally gave the Fireball Technique an upgrade. Fireball Technique, Level 2. Spit out a fan-shaped flame within 4 meters in front of you. A direct hit will cost your opponent 2 units of health. Medium probability to incur a burning state to the enemy. Incurring half a unit health loss per second, lasting for 2 seconds. Glancing at the intermediate Byakugan that had a faint white light, Otsutsuki Toneri directly walked away. It was just an intermediate Byakugan. It wasn't qualified to tarnish his Tensugen. After all, in reality, his eyes carried the Tensugen. Everyone in the Shinobi world was stunned as they watched Hyuga Hiashi get killed in seconds flat. The patriarch of the Hyuga clan was killed in seconds by a strange... Although he couldn't use the gentle fist from the Hyuga clan, what about his combat experience? Where was his combat instinct? Were they eaten up by the Byakugan? To put it bluntly, the people of the Shinobi world believed that the patriarch of the Hyuga clan shouldn't have died so easily. Even if the opponent used a kunai, he shouldn't have lost. It's those eyes. In Kurigakur. Those eyes aren't the Sharingan. Ao's face was grim, then he yelled directly to the group of documenting officers behind him. Who's responsible for documenting that man just now? What the hell are those eyes? Ao couldn't imagine that there was a 4th eye technique besides the Byakugan, Sharingan, and Rinnegan. The scariest part was that such eyes seemed to be specifically targeting the Byakugan. Damn it. Ao's expression was even more ugly. Hyuga Hiashi's evolved eyes were no match for the other party, let alone his own single Byakugan. If he really encountered them, wouldn't he just be a sacrifice? It's a pair of eyes called a Kagen, which were taken out of a box after the young man answered a question correctly. The voice of the documenter in charge of recording Otsutsuki Toneri's movements answered. Ao instantly appeared behind him. Give me the record. He grabbed the records in the other's hand and read it. Ao completely froze. This ability, these effects. It's almost like pointing out that these eyes are Byakugan's nemesis. Tell everyone. Search the entire Shinobi world for this pair of eyes as much as possible. Since the exam space contains such eyes, there must be such an existence in the Shinobi world. Also, have someone go to the black market and put these eyes on the list. His teeth almost sounded as they gritted, and a flash of light glinted in Ao's eyes. As a Byakugan user, he was overwhelmed by the thought that he had a natural nemesis within the Shinobi world. No matter what means were used, he must force the other party out. After everything was arranged, Ao looked at the records in his hand again. Compared to the Byakugan evolution into Jogan, or the Byakugan's nemesis the Kagen, this youth's answer to the question was the most revealing. The evolution limit of the Byakugan, the Tensugen. Although it wasn't clear what kind of eye it was and what kind of eye technique it had, the name alone made him wonder. Tensugen. What kind of eyes are those? These eyes called Jogan are already able to see through the space-time jutsu. Wouldn't the Tensugen, which is 1 level higher than the Jogan, be able to travel through space? That said, Jogan is composed of 9 Byakugan combined. Then the Tensugen composed of 9 Jogan combined. Fortunately, it's in the exam space. If this was in reality, synthesizing a Tensugen would require wiping out the entire Hyuga clan, right? But if anyone gets the Kagen, they would have nothing to fear from the Hyuga family in Konoha. Unlike the depressed Hyuga clan members, the mood of the people in the shinobi world who were eating popcorn was very high. Seeing the unknown fourth pupil, they even felt a sense of honor of witnessing history. Oh. Look, the teenager who killed Hyuga Hiyashi in seconds met another person. Oh, such an unfortunate coincidence. He's also a member of the Hyuga clan. I forgot his name, but I know that his father is called Hyuga Hisashi. He's the head of Hyuga's branch family. I know. His name is Hyuga Niji. Haha, how long do you think he could hold up? Hyuga Hiyashi was a 2-second man. As for him, 1 second, right? With countless people in the shinobi world discussing and watching, Hyuga Niji and Otsutsuki Toneri met face to face. Who are you? Otsutsuki Toneri's Akagen was shining with a red glow as he stared curiously at Hyuga Niji. In Hyuga Niji, he felt something different. That's the Tensugen's aura. This person also has advanced Byakugan potential. This person's Byakugan could be used as the carrier for Tensugen. Toneri eyed Hyuga Niji up and down. Originally, the carrier he chose for the Tensugen was the girl named Hyuga Hinata. His Byakugan was so pure that it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call her the Byakugan princess. But now, he found another set of Byakugan with the same purity as Hyuga Hinata's Byakugan. And because of his talent, his Byakugan was better developed than that of Hyuga Hinata's. Toneri immediately decided to replace Hyuga Hinata with the person in front of him. And Hyuga Hinata could still become his wife without having to suffer the pain of losing her eyes. Otsutsuki Toneri's heart warmed at the thought of that lovely girl, Hinata. He didn't want to wait, he couldn't wait. The plan to synthesize the Tensugen had to start early. The plan to destroy life on Earth should also be carried out in advance. He saw the live broadcast of the first 2 exams, and felt that if he were to wait any longer, his wife, who was booked since she was still a teenager, would be taken away by the guy named Uzumaki Naruto. You, what's your name? Otsutsuki Toneri's eyes flourished red, and in the next moment, Hyuga Niji's eyes were suddenly blank. He had gotten the elementary Byakugan from the exam space and hadn't upgraded yet. So, he couldn't resist the Jinjutsu from Otsutsuki Toneri's Akagen. In the next moment, he told him his name. Hyuga Niji. Hyuga Niji. Otsutsuki Toneri repeated it in a low voice. Then, he suddenly looked at Hyuga Niji with a smile. My name is Otsutsuki Toneri. Hyuga Niji, I'll remember you. Thank you for everything you will do for the right will. After saying that, Otsutsuki Toneri's body instantly turned into a light and disappeared. In place, only a dumbfounded Hyuga Niji was left looking at the treasure chest left by Otsutsuki Toneri. Otsutsuki Toneri. Hearing this name, Hyuga Hiyashi's face instantly changed. As a family with a long history, Hyuga Hiyashi had seen the surname Otsutsuki in the old texts. Legend has it that this surname belonged to the Sage of Six Paths. In the shinobi world, the others were filled with confusion when they saw Otsutsuki Toneri, who was sure to win, suddenly abandon the match. They didn't understand why Otsutsuki Toneri suddenly gave up the match, even though he clearly had an unquestionable advantage. Could it be that he doesn't care about the rewards from the exam space? Damn, if you don't want to take the exam, you should have given it to me. The group of people in the shinobi world immediately noted Otsutsuki Toneri's name in their hearts. They were prepared to meet him later and look for opportunities to teach him a lesson. Not to mention him, if they encounter other people named Otsutsuki in the future, they would have to teach them a hard lesson. He was simply scrapping heaven's gift. He clearly got the superb Akagen, and even had a good chance of getting the final victory. It was wasted just like that. How could he give up? In the current shinobi world, no one knew more about the surname Otsutsuki than Black Setsu. It was just that, at this moment, he was taking the exam in the exam space. He had no idea what had happened at Otsutsuki Toneri's side. Congratulations, you have gained military rations pills X10. Congratulations, you have gained military rations pills X10. Congratulations, you have gained military rations pills X10. Did I fall into a military rations pill factory? Tsunade looked angrily at the valley that surrounded her. The valley was circular, the mountain wall was very smooth, and there was no exit. She was an ordinary person right now, and she couldn't climb out at all. Tsunade angrily threw the military rations pills on the ground. This kind of military rations pills could restore 1 unit of health by eating 10 pills at one time, but it was useless to her right now. And with no one coming to kill her, she wouldn't lose health at all. What was the use of eating military rations pills without losing health? An enraged Tsunade directly began to search the valley that had trapped her, and soon, she gathered all the things in the valley together. 1,320 military rations pills. Looking at the number on the panel, Tsunade suddenly froze. She felt that this valley might have gathered all the military rations pills in this exam. Silently looking at the military rations pale, Tsunade turned her attention to the skill card on the other side. Congratulations, Senju. Tsunade, with a quick look, took 8 skill cards and continuously inserted them. Congratulations, you have gained the intermediate Senju physique and acquired the passive ability. Adapt. That doesn't help much. Senju. Tsunade shook her head. Originally, she was thinking of going to the central dueling arena to watch the battle between Might Guy and the cages. After all, Might Guy was set as the chosen one by the exam space. So he must have gotten his own unique features. But who would have thought that she would be trapped here? Just as Senju Tsunade was about to kill herself off, a deep green color suddenly appeared in the distant sky. At the same time, a message popped up on everyone's panel. The safety zone has been reduced. Countdown to the next reduction, 5 minutes. Seeing this message, Senju Tsunade quickly clicked on the map on her panel. She discovered that the map at the moment was quite different from a few moments before. The outskirts of the map, at some point, had been surrounded by a dark green color. Senju Tsunade knew that it meant that the area had been covered with poison. Examinees in this area who failed to run out before their health was depleted would be poisoned and disqualified from further continuing the exam. It seems that I'll be poisoned as well. Senju Tsunade gave a wry smile. Suddenly, she picked her eyebrows and looked at the pills that formed a small hill in front of her. Oh, isn't that our funny man, Danzo-sama? In the middle of a casino in the shinobi world, a voice full of mockery rang out, causing all eyes to look at the screen in front of him. There, a half-bandaged Danzo was making his way to the center of the Chosen One's dueling arena. Ugh. Have you noticed that the cages of the other shinobi villages seem to be heading to the middle as well? Could it be that they're all going to challenge the Chosen One? But Konoha, the owner of the voice, suddenly froze. The news that Senju Tsunade took the reins in Konoha on behalf of the 5th Hokage hadn't yet reached their country, and naturally, they didn't know who was now in charge of Konoha. At this moment, seeing Danzo running towards the center with the other cages, if they didn't know that Danzo was definitely not the Hokage, they almost thought he was. It seems that they all want to challenge the Chosen One. Come on. Place your bets, Reikage wins at 1-1, Tsuchikage wins at 1-2, Mizukage wins at 1-5, Sunu wins at 1-7, Danzo wins, don't lose money on him. If he wants to win, I'll take my head off and give it to you for a chamber pot. Haha. That's it. He's sure to make a long speech and get killed in seconds, right? Haha. Don't argue. Look, he's entered the duel arena. Shimura Danzo was the first to come to the duel arena. Just after arriving at the duel arena, a virtual prompt appeared in front of Danzo's eyes. You have entered the duel arena and challenged the champion. Would you like to continue? Continue. Shimura Danzo answered without lifting his eyes. This challenge will last for 3 minutes. Killing, defeating, or surviving for 3 minutes will count as a win. Please select the combat power you will use in this challenge. Personal combat power obtained in the survival exam. Personal combat power. Shimura Danzo had just made his choice when he felt the chakra that had disappeared from his body come back. This instantly gave Shimura Danzo confidence. He thought that with his methods, not to mention 3 minutes, he could even hold out for 30 minutes. The challenge begins. As the prompt disappeared before Danzo's eyes, in the next moment, Danzo found himself in the middle of an open field. Across the field, wearing a rustic green jumpsuit, Might Guy was emitting a dense green glow. This was the scene that would happen when he opened the 6th gate. Since the 2 consecutive defeats at the hands of Uzumaki Nagato, Might Guy had learned his lesson wisely. In order to prevent that kind of thing from happening again, he directly maintained an open state of some of the gates. As long as the enemy says wait a minute, he would directly open the gate of death and rush up to them. Anyway, every time he won, the exam space would reset his status. He just had to suffer some pain. As long as Might Guy didn't fight while the gate of view was opened, it didn't consume anything from him. Moreover, in this state, Might Guy could directly use the Morning Peacock, or he could directly jump to the 8th gate. Guy quietly looked at the first person who came to challenge him. When the opponent appeared in the arena, Might Guy realized that the first one to challenge him was Konoha Shimura Danzo. His eyes fluctuated a few times, and his expression was slightly pensive. Theoretically speaking, the other party belonged to Konoha, and he should cut him some slack. However, the exam space gave him the position of chosen one, and naturally, it had a way to keep him from giving anyone a break. If he cut him some slack, the exam space would directly take over his body. What's more, the exam space gave him a reward that he couldn't refuse. As the chosen one, if no one won after challenging him, he would be given a chance to revive his father, Might Guy, at the end of the exam. At the first exam, with the akatsuki, Might Guy witnessed the exam space resurrecting Kissen. He knew that the exam space could resurrect people without any difficulty. But he didn't expect that this luck would fall on his head so soon. Might Guy's gaze was slightly fixed. Two thick eyebrows clustered into a straight line, seriously gazing at Shimura Danzo. He knew Shimura Danzo's means, and if he really let the other party use Sharingan's forbidden jutsu, let alone 3 minutes, the other party could hold on for 10 minutes. So never let his opponent open those eyes of his. 8 Gates Gate of Wonder. Open. Might Guy's green glow instantly turned blue, an effect produced by the evaporation of sweat emanating from his body. The opponent felt the violent chakra. Shimura Danzo looked shaken. He didn't expect that Might Guy would be this strong. He knew that Might Guy was practicing a forbidden jutsu called the 8 Gates. However, he didn't expect that Might Guy had reached the point where he could open 7 gates. Although Might Guy looked imposing at the moment, Danzo didn't panic at all. Wait a minute, Guy. Danzo looked condescendingly at Might Guy. In terms of status and position, he and the other party weren't on the same level. He didn't believe that the other party dared to fight with him. If you fight with me, you will undoubtedly expose our numerous secrets. I can tell you that the cages of the various shinobi villages will come to challenge you next. So, you might as well just let me kill you. I believe you know my ability, and you have no chance of defeating me. Danzo's speech was high-sounding, while his hands were starting to untie his own bandages slowly. He didn't notice, as he finished saying wait a minute. The aura on Might Guy's body was already gaining momentum. Boom. An explosive sound made Danzo jolt and rush to look at Might Guy's location. But Might Guy, who was standing there, had disappeared. Danzo only saw a blue shadow out of the corner of his eye. Danzo didn't expect that the other party's speed had surpassed the speed of his own eyes. Haha, Guy, do you think you can beat me like this? You're too naive. Danzo sneered and was about to lift the bandage on his right eye. Below that, there was a Mangekyo Sharingan. As long as he opened it, he didn't need to be afraid of Might Guy's speed. But Danzo was too naive. He never thought that Might Guy wouldn't let him remove the bandage. Shimura Danzo's hand, which had been pulling at the bandage, suddenly tightened. When he looked down, he saw that the end of the bandage he had untied on his arm was clutched in his steaming blue hand. Danzo was shocked. He finally realized the seriousness of the matter. With his other hand, he quickly drew out a kunai and slashed at the hand. Dancing Leaf Shadow. Might Guy rushed towards Danzo at a speed that couldn't be captured by the naked eye, but before Danzo could react, in Danzo's eyes, one foot suddenly looked bigger and bigger. Finally, he kicked him hard in the chest. Bang. Crack. With the crisp sound of cracking bones, Shimura Danzo immediately felt a surge of unstoppable force emanating from Might Guy's foot. Then, driven by this force, he uncontrollably soared towards the sky. Primary Lotus. Below, Might Guy's voice sounded again. In the next moment, his figure appeared behind Danzo and grabbed Danzo's bandage. Primary Lotus itself needed bandages. Wrapping his opponent with a bandage, he would then take him to rotate in the air at high speed, and finally smash him to the ground. At the moment, although Might Guy had no bandages, Shimura Danzo's own body had them. Might Guy mercilessly grabbed the bandage on his opponent's arms and pulled it hard. Shimura Danzo had nowhere to draw strength in the air and was unable to resist. He was carried through the air by his bandages and spun rapidly. Then, Might Guy grabbed Shimura Danzo's shoulders with both hands and pulled them toward the ground. Boom. A terrible sound of an explosion. Danzo's head rushed down and directly smashed the ground. In the arena, a large crater with a diameter of more than 10 meters instantly appeared. Might Guy's body moved. In the next moment, he was already standing at the edge of the pit. He looked down from above at Shimura Danzo. His neck was abnormally twisted at the bottom of the pit. Challenger, Shimura Danzo, eliminated. As a majestic female voice sounded in the arena, Shimura Danzo's body instantly turned into light and dissipated. Until now, people who were shocked by Might Guy's performance all over the world hadn't reacted. Suddenly, they looked at the pure green figure at the edge of the pit in disbelief. He was killed in seconds. Shimura Danzo was surprisingly killed in seconds. He didn't use any jutsu at all, just 2 jutsu techniques, and then Shimura Danzo died in seconds. In the shinobi world at the moment, as if the pause button had been pressed. Everyone was looking at Might Guy, dumbfounded. After a long while, a series of shocked voices rang out everywhere. Ha ha ha, I told you Shimura Danzo would lose. But I didn't expect him to lose so easily. Was Shimura Danzo really worthy of his name? In fact, if he had used Izanagi directly and delayed for 3 minutes, there was still a chance. But unfortunately TSK, you still pity him. He isn't someone who talks too much, but has the disease of someone who talks too much. If he doesn't even try to talk about how high up he is it still Danzo? Hahaha. In the shinobi world, a group of people mocked Shimura Danzo. They thought that this person was really funny. After watching the video last time, they all noticed that he had lost because he was monologuing. They didn't expect him to do the same thing this time as well. In the end, changing someone's nature was too hard. Could old dogs learn new tricks? Ridiculous. Soon, the group of people turned their eyes from Shimura Danzo to Might Guy. Danzo was unbearable, but he could become an advisor to the Hokage, so he certainly had some strength. Being able to kill the opponent before he could even react was enough to show that Might Guy had his own skills. As expected of the chosen one selected by the exam space, this guy named Might Guy is very strong. Do you guys think he wouldn't be the strongest person in this exam, would he? No, it can be the leader of Akatsuki, and Arcade-sama should be stronger than him, right? In all parts of the shinobi world, people were surprised but not overly shocked by the fact that Might Guy killed Shimura Danzo in seconds. After all, it was only Shimura Danzo that was killed in seconds, not Uzumaki Nagato or the 5 cages. And, with the strength Danzo had demonstrated on those 2 occasions, they felt they only needed to stop Danzo from using Sharingan's forbidden jutsu, and kill him as if he was a normal shinobi. That Jonin Might Guy is actually that strong. Yeah, I didn't expect that. I used to mock that pair of teacher and student for the clothes they wear. When he comes back, I'll apologize to him. I wonder if Might Guy still accepts students. His Taijutsu is so strong. That blue chakra really scared me. In Konohagakure. Listening to other people's comments, Rock Lee instantly burst into tears. He wasn't excited about other people's recognition. After all, he and his teacher didn't care about what other people thought. He was excited about his teacher. The 8 inner gates. Surprisingly, it was that strong. After opening the 8 gates, with only the primary lotus and the dancing leaf shadow, he could beat Shimura Danzo in seconds. He didn't even need to use the Gate of Wonders Daytime Tiger. Kai-sensei is awesome. Rock Lee looked at the other images excitedly, his eyes darting around, looking for the other cages of the other shinobi villages. Just now, Shimura Danzo said that all the cages will challenge sensei. He couldn't wait to see Might Guy kill the other 4. Kai-sensei, you will shine brightly today. Dead. Might Guy stared blankly at the self-repaired arena, not expecting Shimura Danzo to die like this. He hadn't even used the Daytime Tiger. He hadn't even opened the Gate of Death. That guy died, that's not right. Thinking of Shimura Danzo's battle with the Uchiha Sasuke, Might Guy's mind was instantly clear. He didn't give the other party an opportunity to use his forbidden jutsu, using a straightforward way to strike. The other party was thunderstruck, and he simply didn't get a chance to display his full strength. Might Guy hissed and sucked in a cold mouthful of air. He found out that this move he learned from Akatsuki's leader was really powerful. Before Might Guy could continue to think, a figure suddenly appeared in the arena. It was Terumi, the Mizukage, who had just arrived. As soon as she appeared, her eyes fell on Might Guy. His body was covered with a lingering green glow. It's Mizukage-sama. It's Mizukage-sama. Terumi and Might Guy's screens had just fused. In an instant, Kurigakure boiled up. At the moment, everyone put down what they were doing and watched the next battle carefully, even now. If people were to say who had the highest prestige in Kurigakure, there was no doubt that everyone's answer would be Terumi. She single-handedly ended the bloodiest era in Kurigakure, and brought forward Kurigakure's rapid development. The kids at school are watching, right? Ao asked the people beside him. After the people around him had confirmed it, Ao nodded with satisfaction. Although Terumi looked beautiful, she wasn't someone easy to deal with. Terumi's strength ranked first in Kurigakure. That was unquestionable. She had both boil release and lava release. No one in the entire Kurigakure could oppose her. She was able to beat the last Mizukage that was the Sanbi's Jinchuriki, proving her strength. Although Might Guy surprisingly killed Shimura Danzo in seconds, Ao believed that Might Guy had revealed his highest techniques, and he won't be able to defeat Mizukage-sama. Everyone looked carefully, especially the children. You should pay attention to Mizukage-sama's fighting skills and combat sense, as well as the role between lava release and boil release. Mizukage-sama hasn't participated in battles for a long time. This is a rare opportunity. You must cherish it. Yes, Ao-sama. The challenge begins. As the voice of the duel arena sounded, Terumi took the Latin leap backward. Although she had never seen Might Guy in battle, she knew that Might Guy was an excellent Taijutsu shinobi from some intel. Against a jutsu-specialized shinobi, the best way to fight was to create distance. As long as she distanced herself from the opponent and slowly consumed the opponent's health units, she could win this battle. Gate of Wonder. Open. The blue steam on the surface of his body erupted, and the terrifying aura instantly exploded. Might Guy looked at Terumi, who was backing up, and his body slightly flexed. Crack. With a loud sound, Might Guy directly turned into a blue streak of shadow and shot towards Terumi. Seeing the opponent's speed, Terumi's beautiful eyes fiercely narrowed. She didn't expect that Might Guy's outburst would be so astonishing. Lava release. Lava monster jutsu. Terumi Mei quickly formed seals, and her hands moved so fast that they made shadows. Then, a mouthful of sticky and corrosive acid was poured over the sky above Might Guy. That wasn't all. Terumi Mei's eyes flashed a cold light. She once again started forming seals. Boil release. Solid fog jutsu. Her vermilion lips were slightly open. A boiling fog once again sprayed towards Might Guy. This was a super acidic hot gas, which could directly evaporate and melt objects. Terumi Mei glanced at Might Guy, who was surrounded by 2 jutsu, and fell back again. Morning peacock. Might Guy's roar sounded. Terumi Mei couldn't help but look backward, and when she saw what was behind her, she was stunned. Behind her, a huge fan-shaped flame bloomed, like a peacock's opening its tail, and swept relentlessly towards the acid mist and acid slime. These flames were extremely powerful. Although the temperature wasn't as high as the latter, they relied on a strong force to tear a gaping hole in her 2 jutsus. Then, Might Guy's deep voice rang out a second time. Daytime tiger. A ferocious giant blue-striped tiger suddenly condensed in front of Might Guy. With a straight punch from Might Guy, the striped giant tiger boldly flew out. Behind it, the fiery red peacock tail hadn't dissipated, and from afar, it looked as if the giant tiger had a fanned-out flaming tail. Damn it. Terumi Mei's face instantly changed when she felt her opponent's chakra. This kind of chakra was impossible to face head-on. She was about to dodge, but the giant tiger roared as if summoning down 10,000 thunderbolts. The tiger's mouth opened and closed, and in the next moment, Terumi Mei dissipated into a stream of light. Seeing this familiar scene, the shinobi world fell into silence again. Silent, dead silent. No one knew who started to gulp, but gulping sounds rang out one after another. Patriarch, this. In the Hyuga clan, the elder had a dry mouth as he looked at Hyuga Hiyashi, who had reappeared in the clan. He felt that today must be a miserable day for the Hyuga clan. A few minutes ago, there were problems with the Byakugan, on which the Hyuga clan's name depended. And now, the status of the Taijutsu, Gentle Fist, which the Hyuga clan relied on to fight, was also in jeopardy. They, the Hyuga clan, were the largest clan in Konoha on the surface. The reason for this was that the elder wasn't sure if the current Hyuga clan was as strong as the Sarutobi clan. They, the Hyuga, rely on the Byakugan and Gentle Fist as their best skills for survival. Now, having seen Might Guy's combat powers, he felt desperate. The differences are like heaven and earth. Even if we use Byakugan's secret technique, even the 8 trigrams 128 palms, even Hinata's 8 trigrams twin lion, surging shot all of the Hyuga clan's famous taijutsu, passed one by one in the elder's mind. He didn't think that any of them could be a match against the morning peacock. Not to mention the daytime tiger. Just from seeing the tiger's head on the screen, the Hyuga elder knew how powerful this technique really was. As it shot off, the arena in the video had been overturned by its raging chakra, and then collided with the Mizukage, Terumi Mei. There was no rival to this taijutsu technique. Perhaps, only the Reikage's lightning-style armor could compete with it, right? The elder's heart was full of shock. He looked at Hyuga Hiyashi, who was silently standing beside him. He saw Hyuga Hiyashi's expression looked calm, his eyes fluctuating, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Mizukage-sama. Terumi Mei's figure suddenly appeared in Kurigakure. When Ao saw her, he rushed to greet her. Do you know what kind of taijutsu Might Guy was using? 8 gates. 8 gates. Terumi Mei nodded gently. Her pair of beautiful eyes were glowing. Seeing this, Ao was just about to leave when he suddenly heard Terumi Mei ask, "How many people in Kurigakure saw me lose the battle?" Ao froze for a moment, then hastily spoke without even blinking. "There shouldn't be much. At this time, everyone is watching the other people. Konoha's Might Guy. How is he so strong? What is that jutsu? Daytime tiger? I'm afraid that even ordinary forbidden arts don't have such power, right? He only used 2 taijutsu techniques to kill Shimura Danzo, the Hokage advisor. And now used 2 techniques to kill the Mizukage, in seconds. He's too strong. That said, he should have reached his limit as well, right? Such strength, I think, he's already much stronger than the average Kage. Quick, look, the Kazukige's advisor from Sunagakure. She's here." Seeing Chiyo's figure appear beside the arena, the group of people in the shinobi world suddenly got excited. Chiyo was a veteran powerhouse, a master of poison and puppetry, famous throughout the shinobi world. Ugh. Why did she stop? Wait. She isn't choosing to participate in the challenge. The group was puzzled when they saw Chiyo come to a sudden halt in front of the duel arena. Why does she stop? Is she scared? However, that shouldn't have happened. She couldn't see the live broadcast while in the exam, and couldn't see the battle in the arena at all. Could it be that she was already aware of Might Guy's strength? "You're not going in." Inoki, who had jogged all the way to the arena, saw Chiyo's old eyes were closed and frowned slightly. He wasn't sure what Chiyo was doing here and what tricks she was trying to pull. But judging from the other party's behavior during the makeup exam, the fact that Chiyo was still standing here surely couldn't be because of fear. Inoki looked around a few times, and suddenly, his heart moved. How many people went in? Hearing his words, Chiyo smiled slightly. She was obviously prepared for Inoki's question. When I first came, the Mizukage had already entered. Now 3 minutes have passed. Hahaha, the Mizukage. She's just a pretty vase. It seems that the burden of defeating the chosen one will have to fall on my Wagaker. Inoki-sama, it's time for the rest of the shinobi world to see what you're made of. Haha, that's right, let them witness the strength of the older generation cage-level powerhouse. Unlike the shock in various parts of the shinobi world, in Iwagakure, a group of people looked gleefully at Inoki, who entered the duel arena from Chiyo's side. Might Guy is indeed very strong. Both his Taijutsu and his two splendid Taijutsu techniques look strong. However, compared with our third Tsuchikage, Inoki, he is still too immature. Our third Tsuchikage-sama had the terrifying dust release, especially the dust release. Detachment of the primitive world technique. As soon as a hit was landed, all objects would directly turn into atoms. What was even more frightening was that the bloodline limit controlled by the third Tsuchikage wasn't just a bloodline limit. Rather, it was a bloodline limit that overrides a bloodline limit, the bloodline selection. Translator. Kakei Toda equals bloodline selection. Kakei Genkai equals bloodline limit. Coupled with the rich combat experience and combat quality from our Tsuchikage-sama, if Might Guy was just at that level, he's sure to lose. It was very likely that Inoki-sama would kill him in seconds. He wouldn't even get the chance to make any waves. People understood that the third Tsuchikage, Inoki of Iwagakure, the oldest cage, naturally had his uniqueness. He wasn't only a vase like the Mizukage, who would allow Might Guy to beat him. Now, Might Guy was in front of the third Tsuchikage. He was the one who was going to get beaten. Grandpa. In Imegakure, Kuretsuchi watched her grandfather nervously. She didn't get the qualifications to take the exam, so she didn't enter the exam space. And that's exactly why she witnessed Might Guy's power from the beginning to end. He only needed seconds to kill Shimura Danzo. Even his jutsu was useless. He also took seconds to kill the Mizukage, with only 2 techniques. They looked like Taijutsu techniques. Kuretsuchi felt as if Might Guy hadn't pulled out all he had yet. Moreover, she had a vague sense of foreboding. As if, later, Might Guy would come up with a new technique to defeat her grandfather. There must be a reason for the exam space to set Might Guy as the chosen one. Perhaps it doesn't want anyone to win. Thinking about it, Kuretsuchi jolted in shock. She looked at the imposing Might Guy on the screen with a bit of horror. Is he currently the strongest person in the shinobi world? Iwagakure's Inoki, here to challenge. Entering the arena, Inoki waved at Might Guy from a distance. If Might Guy were just an ordinary jonin, Inoki naturally wouldn't be so polite. However, the other party could defeat Terumime, the Mizukage, and possess cage-level abilities, so naturally, it was a different story. Kano has Might Guy. Inoki smiled, using Earth Release. Lightweight rock technique. He floated in the air, and then said, I know you, you're on the exam space list. The number 1 Taijutsu user in the shinobi world. After saying that, as if to draw out the other's temper, the 4th Reikage also said that he wanted to have a match with you to see who could actually get the title of number 1 Taijutsu user. Unfortunately, Inoki's voice was slightly stretched out. Behind his back, he quickly began to form seals with his hands. You would be defeated by me first. Dust Release. Detachment of the primitive world technique. With Inoki's whisper, a square transparent boundary suddenly appeared in his hand. Inoki pushed gently, and the enchantment immediately moved slowly towards Guy. It seemed slow and steady, but that was just a visual effect. While flying, the cube grew rapidly, full of murderous intent as it drifted toward Might Guy. Feeling the killing intent from Inoki, although he didn't know what kind of jutsu it was, Might Guy wasn't careless. Looking at the jutsu that floated in front of him, Might Guy knew he could no longer dodge it, but had to face it. With a low grunt, the giant blue tiger rushed out again and slammed directly into Inoki's jutsu. To everyone's surprise, the imaginary violent explosion didn't appear. The huge tiger rushed into the transparent cube and gave a human-like whimper, and it directly dissipated into a cascade of particles. At the same time, Inoki's detachment of the primitive world technique dissipated. Dust Release. Detachment of the primitive world technique. Might Guy had just broken through Inoki's jutsu, and in the next moment, Inoki's voice rang out again. Then, another cube barrier shot out from his hand. This detachment of the primitive world was an upgraded version of the technique from Inoki's jutsu. This jutsu was not only more powerful and wider in scope, but also had a strong, lasting effect. If Might Guy wanted to offset this attack with the tiger again, it wouldn't work. Might Guy, who didn't know about that fact, once again used his tiger ore. Then he was surprised to find that this time, when the condensed daytime tiger disintegrated after rushing into the boundary didn't disappear but still floated towards him. This made Might Guy's expression instantly change. With Might Guy's fist blasting out, a giant tiger rushed toward the boundary created by the technique again and again. But none of the attacks had any effect. They all dissipated in the boundary. And the boundary was still floating toward him. Ha 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 ha. He's going to lose. He is going to lose. Seeing the heavy expression on Might Guy's face, the Iwagakure crowd was bursting with joy. I told you, the Mizukage of the Kiri Shinobi is nothing more than a vase, no match for our Tsuchikage-sama. Konoha's Might Guy killed Mizukage with 2 jutsu in seconds, and now our Inoki-sama is going to kill him with 2 jutsu in seconds. Ha 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 ha, that was awesome. Hey, his strongest jutsu has no effect at all in front of Tsuchikage-sama's bloodline selection. Now he can only watch as the boundary flies towards him and swallows him up. And then he will turn into particles in despair, and we celebrate Tsuchikage-sama's victory. Hahaha. The shinobi of Iwagakure began to watch the screen with anticipation. They felt that Might Guy's end was set. No matter how the other party struggled, he would be hit by the technique and turned into particles after 10 or so breaths. After all, even if he was faster, he couldn't break through the barrier of the detachment of the primitive world technique. In this state, if Might Guy could win, they might just rip their heads off and offer them to Might Guy as a bowl. Uncle Katsuchi, is that uncle in green going to lose? A weak voice sounded. Katsuchi looked down, only to see that a little girl with a pink carving came running at his feet at some point. The simple and honest Katsuchi directly picked her up, let her sit on his shoulders, and then patiently answered the little girl. We don't know if he will lose yet. But it would be very difficult for him to win now. Tsuchikage-sama has blocked his attack and escape routes. In this situation, if he wants to win, he has to have a powerful long-range attack to do so. And he has to kill Tsuchikage-sama before the jutsu kills him. He can only win if these conditions are met. Think about it, isn't that hard? Katsuchi's analysis immediately provoked praise from a group of Iwa people around him. As expected of Jonin Katsuchi, he found a way to crack it so quickly. This tactical analysis ability, it seems that Tsuchikage-sama has been giving you a lot of lessons, right? Ha 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 ha. Haha, who made Katsuchi-sama the son of the 3rd Tsuchikage? In the future, the 4th Tsuchikage must be Katsuchi-sama, right? Hahaha. Hey, look, guys. What's that Might Guy doing? Shit. What's that? Red steam, fuck, this ore. This still an ore that a person could have. 8 gates. Gate of death open. Seeing that the daytime tiger under the gate of wonder had no effect, Guy didn't hesitate at all, and directly opened the 8th gate, the gate of death. At the moment he opened it, the entire person's already extremely powerful aura instantly skyrocketed again. The hair on his body stood up. His whole person seemed like a Super Saiyan, with a terrifying aura emanating from his body. What's more frightening was that the blue vapor that originally emitted from Might Guy's body had transformed into blood red. Even his originally coarse black eyebrows and hair were like burning flames now. Not only that, but his body and back were also burning with fiery red chakra at the moment. From a distance, he looked as if he was on fire. Might Guy's momentum swept through. At his foot, the solid arena directly exploded. A huge block of stone exploded under his feet, shooting outward and drifting away at the detachment of the chakra on his hand was doubled, and he pushed the technique to accelerate towards Might Guy. The opponent's aura was too strong. Strong enough to rival someone who brought him decades of nightmares. Konoha. Inoki's teeth ground against each other, and his voice seemed to be squeezed out. The battle in the Valley of the End was Konoha's. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Shinobi World War were also Konoha's. The 4th Shinobi World War of the future will be Konoha's. But it's just Konoha without Senju, without Uchiha, without Yellow Flash, even without the future Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke, they still had a lot of demons. This was simply not allowing other shinobi villages to live. Why don't they just simply stop calling the world the Shinobi world? Why don't they just fucking call it the Hokage's world? Every capable shinobi could go and serve under that damn Hokage. In that case, perhaps the shinobi world would have been at peace long ago. Inoki spat in his heart. His resentment turned to outrage, but his hands kept moving. The chakra in his body was even more frantically surging towards the detachment of the primitive world technique. Suddenly, Inoki was covered in a cold sweat, and all his hair felt like it stood on end. He felt a dense murderous aura enveloped him. This murderous aura was incomparably thick and cold, almost instantly making him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. In the next moment, Might Guy's cold voice suddenly sounded. Inoki looked towards Might Guy in panic, only to see Might Guy, whose whole body was burning with red flames, smiling at him strangely. Then a fist was aimed at him and blasted out from a distance. First step. The bone-cracking sound of his arm made Inoki startled. The next moment, a cylindrical air cannon visible to the naked eye instantly blasted towards him. Thus release. Looking at the attack that swiftly flew in, Inoki's expression greatly changed. Both hands formed a seal and instantly condensed into a tetrahedral boundary that enveloped him. This was another usage of the detachment of the primitive world technique, which could protect him from other jutsu attacks. Inoki was about to breathe a sigh of relief as he watched Might Guy's attack would be cancelled out by the detachment of the primitive world technique, when Might Guy's voice calmly rang out at the next moment. Second step. Third step. Fourth step. Crack shit. Watching the cracks appear on the technique's boundary after it resisted the air cannon 3 times, Inoki's face instantly changed again. With a wave of his arm, he hastily dispersed lightweight rock technique and avoided downwards. His reaction was fast, but Might Guy's attack was faster. The 4th attack shattered Inoki's dust release, and before he could use it again, the 5th attack came with a roar from Might Guy. 5th step. The compressed air cannon instantly caught up with the falling Inoki and slammed into him. Finding the point to apply force, the compressed air was instantly released from the cannon, which would directly shatter all of Inoki's internal organs, followed by a column of highly pressurized air. In the attack caused by horrible wind pressure, Inoki's body instantly turned into a ray of light and disappeared. Along with it, the boundary that was about to touch Might Guy disappeared. Looking at the panting Might Guy with his limbs hanging down strangely, everyone in the shinobi world froze as if they were struck by lightning. The 3rd Tsuchikage lost. At the moment, everyone's head somehow remembered what they said before the challenge. Might Guy, the number 1 Taijutsu user of the shinobi world. Challenger, Inoki, eliminated. Hearing the verdict from the duel arena, everyone snapped out of their daze. They mechanically looked at the top of the screen. They didn't know what to say. Everyone was silent. It was a weird and unimaginable silence. At the moment, in Iwagakure, all the shinobi who heard Katsuchi's analysis looked at Katsuchi with strange eyes. What kind of mouth is he running? The 3rd Tsuchikage collapsed right after he said that. Even Katsuchi himself looked at the live broadcast in astonishment. Numb. He truly felt numb. Flesh striking the air, producing a strong air cannon for long-range attack, his attack strength comparable to a cage level. No, the light flashed, and in the next moment, the illuminated Inoki appeared in front of him. As soon as he appeared, Inoki looked at the screen in awe. Too strong. The strength of Might Guy with all 8 gates open is too strong. His blooming momentum alone had far exceeded a cage by several times, plus his bizarre vitality. Might Guy was called the number 1 Taijutsu user in the shinobi world by the exam space. There's absolutely no dispute. The corners of Inoki's mouth pursed slightly. From the fight just now, he could also see that Might Guy's forbidden technique was extremely taxing on his body. It belonged to the forbidden technique that sacrificed one's own body. But on the contrary, he was able to fight off anyone in the process of self-destruction. This was very similar to Kakashi and Konoha. One of them could fight with anyone 50-50ths, and the other could fight with anyone to death. Thinking of Konoha, Inoki sighed quietly, with an indescribably sour sound. At the same time, Danzo, who saw Might Guy picking off the 2 Mizukage and Tsuchikage, one after another, returned to Konoha's Anbu with a slightly relieved look on his face. Originally, he still felt ashamed of his defeat. After all, he hadn't executed all his moves, but now he was relieved. Even the Mizukage and the old and powerful Tsuchikage were defeated. In this case, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen was alive, he had a great chance of failing too. Looking at the green figure that the exam space had cured, Shimura Danzo's eyes flashed out again. Might Guy had such terrifying power. As the leader of Root, to ensure peace in Konoha, Danzo felt he had to grab hold of him. After all, this terrible combat power, without checks and balances, would certainly cause great trouble to Konoha in the future. Danzo began thinking about it. Now, everyone in the shinobi world knew that he had Sharingan on him, and that this one in his eyes was a Mangekyo. But they didn't know about this Mangekyo's technique. Thinking of Mangekyo's art in his eye, Danzo's expression fluctuated for a moment. He didn't know whether Kodamatsukami could affect a Taijutsu user at this level. Hop Hat Patriarch. This in the Hyuga clan, the elder's voice had a trembling tone. Seeing Might Guy kill the 3rd Tsuchikage with a long-range air cannon triggered by pounding the air, he felt that Hyuga Hiyashi's glory was slipping away. Hearing the sound of the elder behind him, Hyuga Hiyashi suppressed the loss in his heart. At the very beginning, he was a bit dissatisfied to see Might Guy being titled as the number 1 Taijutsu user in the shinobi world. Just because they were both Konoha's shinobi, he didn't go looking for the other party to compare strengths with him. He was, after all, the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, a giant in Konoha, and Might Guy was just an ordinary jonin in Konoha. There was no comparability at all. Now it seemed I made the wise choice at that time. There is no comparison at all. The head of this Hyuga clan was indeed very self-aware. Alas, the gentle fist and strong fist. In the end, strong fist techniques were better. There's nothing to be discouraged about. We, the Hyuga clan, are the largest Jujutsu user clan in the shinobi world. Moreover, we practice Hyuga's gentle fist. Hyuga Hiyashi's voice was flat, without any emotional fluctuation. It caused a group of Hyuga people to look over immediately. We practice gentle fist. What does it have to do with their Jujutsu? Hyuga Hiyashi said so and found that everyone looked at him in astonishment. His face turned a bit red. He knew what their gazes meant, but what else could he do? With so many young people from the Hyuga clan looking at him, could he directly admit that the gentle fist of the Hyuga clan was inferior to Might Guy's 8 gates? Of course not. What else was there to say? Not to mention, even Hyuga Hiyashi himself wanted to go to learn the 8 gates technique from Might Guy now. Too strong. Hyuga Hiyashi could imagine how Might Guy's status would rise in Konoha when the exam was over. He wasn't Uzumaki Naruto, who needed time to grow up. He was shown in the video, and it was his real strength. It seemed that when he returned to Konoha, the number of people who would like to learn from him in Konohagakure could line up from Konohagakure to the Valley of the End. That guy. He's that strong. The owner of a clothing store in Konoha was looking at Might Guy in astonishment. She never thought that that guy, who had been begging her to make a new outfit for a while, would be such a strong shinobi. At that time, he brought the drawing of clothes and searched Konoha for someone who could make clothes for him, but everyone refused him because the clothes he designed were too ugly. Only her, because her son died in the war and needed to make ends meet with her widowed daughter-in-law, agreed to make them. And for that, he gave her a lot more money. Over the years, she had been helping Might Guy to make clothes, and now she still had several sets that Might Guy hadn't taken away. However, the old shopkeeper suddenly had a question in her heart. Since Might Guy was that strong when Akatsuki invaded Konoha in the future, why didn't she see him come out? Mom, did you make Might Guy's clothes? Just as the old shopkeeper was thinking, a figure rushed in and frightened the old shopkeeper. Looking at who it was. What? Isn't this my own daughter-in-law? Her panting face is so red. What is she doing? Mom, I remember that you helped him make clothes, right? The young woman's face was red and excited at the moment. We're getting rich. Mom. We're going to be rich. I just heard that many people want to be his student. Mom, you have always made his clothes. And it will definitely be the same in the future. Mom, we will have to make countless clothes. In the shinobi world, seeing Might Guy beat Danzo, Mizukage, and Tsuchikage, one after another, everyone realized how powerful Might Guy's strength was. Watching Might Guy blast Inoki with a few punches, everyone's mouth went dry, and their eyes swept the screen in sympathy. They needed to know which unlucky guy was going to get blown up by Might Guy next. Soon, they found their goal. They saw the 4th Reikage, with an amazing aura, close to the arena. Chiyo from Sunagakure, as if greeted by the door, met him. Why aren't you going in? I'm not good at fighting alone. Chiyo shook her head, not dodging the question at all. Who has been in? Mizukage, Tsuchikage. The 4th Reikage nodded, then smiled disdainfully. The woman who took several years to stabilize civil unrest and an old man who always used schemes. If they had lost, then they lost. Oh, what a shame. The 4th Reikage directly mocked them. The titular cage lost at the hands of a man defeated by Akatsuki. What a joke. Bypassing Chiyo, he stepped into the arena. Next, the voice of the 4th Reikage suddenly rang everywhere in the arena and the shinobi world. Might Guy. Hand over the position of the #1 Taijutsu user in the shinobi world. Give it up. In the shinobi world, listening to the voice of the 4th Reikage, everyone was stunned. Then, they started to gloat. They wanted to know how great the look on the 4th Reikage would be when he faced Might Guy's explosion later on. This is a Taijutsu showdown. Konoha's Might Guy. Don't say I'm bullying you with my Taijutsu skills. The 4th Reikage stood in the arena. His 2 fists clenched, and his body suddenly flashed with dazzling lightning. With that, his momentum was amazing, completely overshadowing Might Guy, who had opened 6 gates. This put the 4th Reikage in a great mood. In this battle, I don't need to use Jinjutsu. Take out all your strength and challenge me. As long as you beat me, I believe no one would deny your position as the #1 Taijutsu user. In Kumagakure. Derry slapped himself on the head when he saw their own Reikage blabbering about that weirdo Might Guy. So humiliating, such humiliation. He didn't even want to watch it anymore at the moment. Behind him, everyone in Kumagakure had similar thoughts. They all looked embarrassed to the extreme. They knew the more brazen the Reikage was now, the more embarrassed he would be later. It's not that they didn't have confidence in the 4th Reikage, but Might Guy, he's totally inhuman. It's like a dueling arena in the featherweight class, and suddenly a 360kg heavyweight national fighter king. Each step could make the featherweight tremble. There was no need to fight at all. Just by momentum alone, he was able to shatter the arena's floor. And that the air cannon killed Inoki in seconds. To be honest, Derry felt that there was no need for the air cannon technique. That technique called Daytime Tiger alone would require the fourth Reikage to go all out. After all, compared with the third Tsuchikage Inoki, the fourth Reikage didn't have an overly powerful attack like that dust release. The Reikage was best at speed, strength, and defense, followed by attack skill. And it just so happened either way, he met Might Guy, an incomprehensible guy. TSK, he dared to mock our Mizukage-sama, just wait and see how he dies. Haha, haha haha. Might Guy beat him to death. In Kurigakure, they saw that the fourth Reikage made a big remark and mocked Terumime, and some ninjas in Kurigakure had already sneered. Once a fractured Kurigakure, the current Kurigakure was now as united as Kumagakure. The fourth Reikage taunted Terumime, so they naturally wanted to watch irony at play. Looking at the dark faces of the fourth Reikage, a group of people who were in Kiri couldn't wait to have a live commenting function in the broadcast. Preferably anonymous. They were going to curse this fourth Reikage to death. They wanted to spray curses like water release until he was drowned to death. Looking at the super brave the fourth Reikage, the corners of Inoki's mouth lifted. There's going to be a good show. He knew the Reikage wasn't as brainless and headstrong as he seemed. This guy had a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Now, just like himself, he was trying to provoke the other party. But unfortunately, both himself and used their taunts in the wrong place. Inoki Ajisen, has this dark guy always been so brave? In Kasuchi's arms, the petite girl looked at the screen curiously. With a finger in her mouth, she blinked her big eyes and asked Inoki. Hahaha. Inoki chuckled at the girl's words, gently poking her tiny nose. His old eyes turned to the screen and flashed several times. Yes, this guy has always been brave. Hahaha. Okay. Listening to the words of the fourth Reikage, Might Guy nodded seriously. It's not that he didn't hear the disdain that the fourth Reikage had for him, but Might Guy didn't think it was a big deal. He was just a shinobi who practiced Taijutsu. He also believed that his Taijutsu wasn't number one in the shinobi world. He also felt that such a great title wasn't what he could bear right now. But, equally, the title of number one Taijutsu user, even if you're the Reikage, you can't bear it. Might Guy's voice sounded faint, stunning the fourth Reikage, and also made everyone in the shinobi world instantly surprised. They never expected it. They thought that the fourth Reikage was crazy enough, but who knew, Might Guy was even crazier than him. In front of the Reikage, he was saying that the Reikage was unworthy. Then, with countless people of the shinobi world watching, Might Guy said something that made everyone stand in awe. This title should belong to my father. I'm just a pure Taijutsu shinobi. My father, he's the number one Taijutsu user in the shinobi world. Reikage-sama, I will do my best to defeat you. Please take care. The fourth Reikage lips that were made speechless by Might Guy's reply were slightly curled. He didn't know if what Might Guy said was true, but it seemed reasonable. If his father was his teacher, it was logical for the guy to be better than him. Just attack with all your might. When you lose, you can ask your father to come to my Kumagakure to challenge me. The fourth Reikage retreated half a step with his right foot, and his left hand instantly posed like a claw. The originally shining lightning exploded violently. With a crackling sound, the hair on the head of the fourth Reikage suddenly stood up. His eyes narrowed slightly, looking at Might Guy, who didn't move an inch. The fourth Reikage patted his right hand on his chest. Suddenly, his lightning release focused on his right hand. Lightning release armor. The fourth Reikage showed a cruel smile at the corners of his mouth. He said that he wouldn't use Jinjutsu, but he didn't say that he didn't use Ninjutsu. The figure moved. The fourth Reikage's figure instantly disappeared from the sight of countless people. In everyone's sight, on the screen, only a blue lightning streak shot towards Might Guy. This is speed. In Omegakure, Izumi and Uchiha Mikoto looked strange. It was Mangekyo. Uchiha Mikoto's eyes awakened when Itachi chose to die on the night the clan was destroyed. And Izumi, after escaping from Konoha, discovered that Itachi wasn't in the crowd. When Uchiha Fugaku said that all other clansmen died except for the people with them, her Mangekyo was instantly awakened. At this moment, the Mangekyo was quietly working, staring with all their might at the thunderbolts shooting up on the screen. Only with Sharingan's Mangekyo could a blurred shadow be seen. Just how fast was that? Even Mangekyo couldn't catch it. Instead, Uchiha Fugaku, whose eyes at the moment shone with a more complex pattern than the two of them, immediately saw the movements of the fourth Reikage. Now, time for youth to bloom. 8 gates. Gate of Death open. Along with Might Guy's roar, an unimaginable and amazing aura instantly blossomed in the duel arena. 10 times stronger than Akage's aura, which instantly covered the fourth Reikage's aura. Feeling the other's momentum, watching the crazy burning chakra on Might Guy, the Reikage's high-speed running suddenly stalled. In the next moment, the speed surged again. In place, it surprisingly left a residual shadow that kept dissipating. Lightning roared and instantly struck. Topping Might Guy's aura, the figure of the fourth Reikage instantly appeared in front of Might Guy. With his right hand as a blade, he slashed at Might Guy's neck with the power of roaring thunder. Seeing that Might Guy was ready to block with his right hand, the fourth Reikage snorted coldly. In the next moment, his left hand and right foot launched an attack at the same time. Lightning release armor. Guillotine drop. 3 muffled sounds rang out. The fourth Reikage looked at Might Guy in surprise. Be blocked. At this moment, Might Guy's hands held his 2 hand blades, while his right foot was being blocked by his shoulder. As if delayed by half a second, the terrifying force of the fourth Reikage's attack was transmitted to the arena beneath his feet. In an instant, the arena collapsed. The whole arena collapsed completely, and dust rose all over the sky around it. It could all be described slowly, but it all happened in the blink of an eye. People in the shinobi world only saw that the fourth Reikage's lightning came close to Might Guy, and Might Guy turned red again. Then, the arena collapsed, and the sky was dusty. At the next moment, blue lightning emerged from the dust and turned into the figure of the fourth Reikage. Among the dust in the air, they could still faintly see a red figure standing in the center. He blocked it. He used his body to bear the Reikage's lightning guillotine drop. How is this possible? With a hard roll of his throat, the fourth Reikage licked his dry, cracked lips. He found that things had begun to go wrong. The strength of the other party was beyond his imagination. Feeling his heart beating faster, the fourth Reikage's face became even more serious. He didn't expect that one day, he would be nervous in a Taijutsu showdown. Evening Elephant. Among the smoke and dust, Might Guy had turned red and exploded out. He looked like a red sword, cutting off the smoke and dust in the sky. The burning chakra and severe pain on his body made his facial muscles curl up, and the bridge of his nose swelled high. From a subtle point of view, Might Guy's face now looked as if it was a condensation of an elephant's head. Looking at the incoming Might Guy, the corners of the fourth Reikage's mouth split open, and he licked his lips in excitement. He could see that Might Guy was burning with vitality. If they weren't in the exam space, and he couldn't reset his status, he was going to die, later on, no matter who won. However, this was the exam space. They could use all the forbidden techniques and drain life force with impunity. As a cage-level powerhouse, who didn't have a few forbidden techniques. What's more, he was the titular Reikage. Isn't it just an overdraft of life force? Without it, they wouldn't really be a cage-level powerhouse, would they? Might Guy, I admit that you're very strong, but I won't lose so easily. Lightning release. Armor. With a shout from the fourth Reikage, the hiss of lightning release on his body instantly went manic. Blue arcs of lightning were visible to the naked eye, and the lightning that originally stimulated the flesh on the surface of his body burrowed into his body. Not enough. Not enough. Suffering from severe physical pain, the fourth Reikage knew that he couldn't beat the other party yet. Lightning release. Armor. Berserk. Lightning release chakra mode. With the fourth Reikage launching the forbidden jutsu at all costs, his originally pale yellow hair instantly became white, and his dark skin instantly became saggy. Even though his whole person instantly became old, his momentum was getting stronger and stronger. There was even a faint tendency to be on a par with the present Might Guy. All this was slow to say, but it all happened in an instant. At this moment, Might Guy was just breaking out of the smoke. First step. The familiar sound of fractured arms didn't attract any attention from Might Guy, who stared at the fourth Reikage. The evening elephant was very strong. After all, it was a technique that could be used only by opening the gate of death. But it also had a fatal weakness. If the enemy were hit with one foot, the strong pressure would suppress the opponent, so their body couldn't move, and subsequent attacks would hit them. However, if the opponent's speed exceeded the air column's speed, the subsequent attack of the evening elephant might fail. Especially now, both sides are burning their own life force. At this time, if the first attack of the evening elephant failed to hit the other party, Might Guy couldn't use the subsequent attacks. After all, every attack with the evening elephant would cause great damage to his body. After just attacking Inoki 5 times, all his limbs were already ruined, and he couldn't use the subsequent attacks at all. Now he, compared to the future him, still lacked 3 years of high-intensity training. Might Guy had decided that if Evening Elephant's first attack didn't hit the Reikage, he'd move straight to Night Guy. Looking at the air column shot at himself, the fourth Reikage instantly moved outside the attack range. He moved very fast as if a bolt of lightning tore through space. No one could see his movements at all. There was a flash of blue light, and he had already appeared on the other side. Boom! The first attack of the Evening Elephant hit the duel arena, and instantly, a huge unfathomable crater appeared in the duel arena. Seeing this scene, everyone in the shinobi world felt their throats go dry. Was this an attack a normal human could make? At this moment, they thought of Inoki, who could withstand such an attack, 4 times truly worthy of being a veteran old cage. Ha ha ha, might guy. Fight me. The fourth Reikage felt his own opponent's powerful strength, and shot directly at Might Guy with wild laughter. Might Guy's face looked solemn as he also dashed at him. Instantly, it was as if a red and a blue lightning bolt appeared in his space. 2 flashes of lightning started to collide in the arena violently, bounce off again, collided violently again, and bounce off again. With each collision, the energy fallout from their impact would cause secondary damage to the battle environment around them. The dust that originally filled the sky had been swept away by the violent wind pressure generated by the 2 men's clash, flying overhead. Listening to that incessant clashing sound, everyone in the shinobi world was paralyzed. Completely paralyzed. They couldn't even see who was who now. They could only see 2 lightning bolts of different colors clashing wildly on screen. The muffled sound of fist to flesh made their blood boil. They looked at the screen with excitement, their eyes fixed on the 2 thunderbolts, and they knew that the winner would soon be revealed. Too strong. These 2 are too strong. And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.